talent at both positions. So make sure you take at least 2 receivers in your first 4 picks. Don't miss the QB run. You don't need Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson to win your league, but don't wait too long in your draft to get your starting QB. And when you pick, target a mobile quarterback. Rushing upside is a major difference maker in fantasy. You can wait on tight end. Really, I've told you for years that if you miss out on elite tight ends, the next tier extended so far that you can wait to draft one. But times are changing. And with up-and-coming guys like these, you can pass on Kelsey and still get league-winning upside. Defense doesn't win championships. In fantasy football, defense doesn't win championships. Key stats like sacks, turnovers, and defensive touchdowns, they are a roller coaster from year to year. Matchups matter too, and the new kickoff rule could impact scoring like never before. So be patient and don't reach for a defense in your draft. Upside matters late. Finding breakout players late in drafts wins leagues. So remember, upside matters late. 5 of the top 15 scoring receivers at year's end were drafted outside the top 25 at the position. Last year's wide receiver 6 and wide receiver 7 in points per game were both drafted outside the top 50 at the position. Late in your draft, always look to young players with paths to playing time. Upside, upside, upside. This isn't your final roster. Remember, your draft night roster won't be your playoff roster. Trades, savvy use of the waiver wire, injuries, all will transform your team. And that's the fun of fantasy football. Draft night is just the start. So get in the game. Download the ESPN Fantasy app or go to ESPN.com/FFL to draft with the #1 fantasy game.
Hello and welcome to the ESPN Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast. I'm Skubie Mageza. That is the Erin, Dolan, and we're going to be with you during the entire draft on ESPN. So every time we go to commercial, there's no breaks. You're going to come right to us, and we're going to be interviewing some of these fantasy draft managers, try to figure out the rhyme or reason behind their draft picks and their team construction. So everybody out on YouTube, I'm going to be looking right here in the chat. Send us your questions that you may have for the fantasy draft managers. Erin is here to paint that betting perspective for us as well as we get into those discussions with the managers. But let's start right there at the betting perspective, Erin, because when it comes down to player props and fantasy football, those two kind of correlate. Because I don't like it when I see my wide receiver 1 has 45 yards over under, and I need him to get me 145. So how do those two kind of correlate?
So betting and fantasy, to some extent, of course, can correlate because if you have a guy who's, let's say, going to be #1 picked, if it's Christian McCaffrey, he's also someone who is expected to have the most rushing yards this upcoming season, and you can do that from a betting perspective and bet over or under on that. So everything can correlate back to actual numbers that you can bet. So it's just one of these things that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to be paying attention to that all season because there's nothing like being there on Sundays when your fantasy football player goes off and all your prop bets hit. So sticking on specific players, are there any ones that you're keeping an eye on during the early rounds?
During the early rounds, honestly, just all the running backs that are going to go because that's obviously one of the hardest positions to be able to stay healthy, and that makes me very, very concerned from a betting perspective for futures as well as for fantasy managers. Yeah,
and it's been definitely going in the direction of people drafting wide receivers early on, so it's going to be interesting to see how the top of this draft plays out. Now, let's go over the draft order. It is a 10-team draft, and Daniel Dopp will be going first. I'm just going to let y'all know now. Daniel Dopp and I did the UFL
Who did he pay for that?
Yeah, who did he pay for that? That is a good question. But I know Dopp is going to go for Jake Bates. He's going to go for a couple of Lions players. But as you see the list over there, it is going to be a fun draft with all the ESPN talent joining.
I'm so excited for this one. I'm more excited, too, to see how many shirts Anita Marks has.
Yeah, Anita always brings on a different type of shirt.
Word on the street, it's 30. I'll give you the answer.
Yeah,
she brought
so
30
we can't
shirts.
wait to see it. So, all right, it's almost that time. Let's go ahead and hand things over to Field Yates and the rest of the crew for the first round of the Fantasy Football Draft. We'll see you after the commercials. Peace.
Yeah, I'm in the house, baby. Let's do this. You see what the swag is? Yeah, I'm about to go ahead and crush these boards in this draft. Please believe me.
Share my cheat sheet for tonight. I recommend this for all of you in your drafts. It's the one. That's how you win this year. Okay, let's go.
Showtime.
You know I come prepared, right? You know what it's about with my t-shirts. Look at this, baby. Who's got, look at this. I packed for the draft. Who's got C-Mac? You know who that is? Daniel Dopp. I know he does. Oh, what's this? Justin Jefferson? That's right. Is he gonna be available to me at 7? Maybe. Time will tell.
Hey, draft day, baby. Cannot wait. I'll tell you what, someone's going to bring home the championship, and I know exactly who it's going to be, right? It's very likely going to be this guy right here. Super pumped about this because I'm not the only one. Oh, my gosh. Is this the War Room champion, Stephania Bell? Stephania!
The champ is actually here.
All hail the queen and the trophy.
As you should.
We are not worthy.
Oh, look at the tote board right now. Over 1.3 million people have drafted teams. And we have more forthcoming right now as we welcome you in to the conclusion of the 2024 Fantasy Football Marathon. It is the centerpiece of it all. Our SportsCenter special Fantasy Football Draft is presented by ESPN Bet. I'm Field Yates, and nobody cares because we've got royalty in the building. Would you
get started now?
Wow, okay, first of all, that is expensive technology back there. Be careful where you throw stuff. Usually when we have something we want to confirm around here, we turn to Adam Schefter. Can you confirm that Mike Clay hates puppies?
Sources say that is accurate.
Oh, wow!
You can't trust sources.
Okay, this has gone from
His sources said last night to draft Devon Echem. We can't trust that source either.
Wow.
Because they're related to Tyler, right? So
wow. Wait. We will revisit that moment. That is for sure. We're going to go around the table and say hello to our incredible group of drafters. And that includes Mike Clay and the man, the myth, the legend from ESPN Bet Live, Tyler Fulghum. What's happening?
Feeling good, even though I'm sitting next to my buddy,
Off to a
Mike
great
Clay.
start.
We are off to a great start. I'm excited because I missed last year's Fantasy Football Marathon Draft. You thought I was
you were
ducking you on
scared. Yeah, you were ducking me. But the good thing about drafting right next to Tyler is that I don't have to worry about getting sniped on any good players. Like, that's the best part about it.
Okay, the two of you, things are fast and furious already. We'll rip through the rest of the order. Eric Moody from ESPN, of course. The great Stephania Bell. Mr. Daniel Dopp, who is omnipresent with all things fantasy football. And the bodyguard, Damien Woody, Super Bowl champion and grandpa recently. Adam Schefter, congratulations. D. Woody, Schefter, the man who knows everything, probably knows the entire order of the draft and how the picks will unfold. The great Liz Loza and Anita Marks also in the house. To wrap things up, we are ready to give you the rules for how things are going to work tonight. It's pretty straightforward. It's a fantasy football draft that includes 10 teams. It's points per reception scoring, which is our default setting here on ESPN.com. A reminder that in rounds 1 through 5, we're going to give 1 minute between picks. So, Mike, keep things moving here. Round 6 and beyond, 45 seconds between picks. And the draft order was randomly selected, and someone here was pretty excited about how that turned out.
Now it is time to reveal our draft order for our mock draft. There's 2 spots left, one for Field Yates and one for me. I did not pick this order. I did not know this order. I have a producer in my ear telling me live while we do it. Number 1 overall pick, baby! Yes! Number 1 overall pick, baby!
I don't know if we have insurance.
Family show.
Yeah, I don't know if we have injury insurance. All right, Daniel, some people are probably saying, who are you taking with the number 1 overall pick? My more important question is, will your shirt be staying on tonight?
I promised Mama Dopp I would not take my shirt off on ESPN2 tonight. So, I don't know. Jake Bates is still on the board. Lions kicker, guys. You know how big I am on this.
All right.
Honestly, we'll find out.
The shirt we plan to keep on, we shall see. All right, so you have the rest of the draft order, by the way. It does start with Daniel, then you see me, Tyler, Clay, Liz, Eric, Anita, Adam Schefter, Damien Woody, and Stephania Bell. We are going to get ready to do this. And it's the highlight of my year and hopefully everybody else's. Daniel, you are officially on the clock. You have 1 minute to make your pick. You can use as much of that minute as you would like.
Sure. Christian McCaffrey. I don't need a whole lot of time, guys. #1 overall. I mean, it feels like this is so easy, right? Christian McCaffrey, for the last 6 seasons, has been top 2 at the running back spot. The only reasons that he wasn't those other 2 years, Stephania, was because of injuries. I fully expect him to return to the guy that he was last year. There's no reason not to go CMC at 1.01. End of story.
Okay, that was the least suspenseful part of this draft night, as everybody was, of course, expecting it to be Christian McCaffrey. Way to go, Daniel. Way to get things going. I need to draft. I need to join the draft. That was my bad there, as I am officially on the clock.
You auto-drafted. You did get a kicker, I think.
Oh, I did?
You weren't in the draft. Yeah, you're done.
Mike, a little bit of invasion of privacy here, man. Keep your stuff to yourself. I am on the clock here, and things get a little bit interesting. But, you know, Mike has been hammering over the head over the past couple of days just how ridiculous CeeDee Lamb was coming off of his bye. Last season, he had what?
300 after the bye, he had 314 fantasy points, 28.5 per game.
Yeah, and 134 targets. We feel pretty good about that contract getting sorted out in Dallas. So I'm going to take Bijan Robinson.
Wow. Wow.
That was rude.
Your thoughts on the matter?
That was. He got me.
I didn't see that coming. I thought I was going to be able to do that to you at number 3.
I knew it. I knew one of you two were
We are not in cahoots here. You were disappointed by that selection.
Bijan over Brees.
Yeah, Bijan over Brees.
How come?
I will say this. I will break the narrowest of ties here. And this is not to be interpreted as an anti-Brees Hall thing, but more a pro-Bijan Robinson thing. I think he's a special football player. I think we're talking about a guy who in a couple of years, we could be discussing him as the modern version of Christian McCaffrey. He'll be 30, which in 2 years, which Mike Clay, I mean, he's basically an octogenarian in Mike's book by the time he is 30. So, the only thing that can prevent Bijan Robinson from being perhaps the best player in fantasy football is the coaching staff. And I don't think Atlanta will make that same mistake twice. Special player who I think will have a monster workload this season. And because it's a 10-team draft, having at least one running back in the first 2 rounds, pretty valuable.
Yeah, I wanted him. We widely consider him to be like a disappointment last season. He was 6th in yards among running backs. He was top 5 in snaps. He was so good. He's already polished and terrific in the passing game, and his carries are going to go up substantially this year. So that's why I wanted. I'm not happy about it.
Congratulations. Tyler Fulghum, you're now on the clock. 3rd overall.
Candidly, I'm not happy about it either. I thought I was going to be able to snipe Mike Clay's most coveted player, but my strategy coming into this draft was I wanted to leave the first round in the top 3 spot with either CMC, Bijan, or Brees Hall. So Brees Hall is left, and I will take Brees Hall. You guys made the decision for me, but I think I get a running back here that's going to be in a much improved offense because of Aaron Rodgers. They're going to score a lot more touchdowns than they did a season ago. He's going to be on a 3-down, 2-minute goal line roll. He will rarely come off the field. And we saw what he did last year in the final few games and few weeks of the season when he was operating in an offense that did not have near the quarterback capabilities that Aaron Rodgers will bring. So I will gladly, as a consolation prize, take Brees Hall, who I do think can be a league winner, even out of the 3 spot.
Yeah, not really a consolation prize here, right? Just how special of a season he had last year coming off of that ACL tear, nearly 1,600 yards from scrimmage. That brings us to your adversary, Mike Clay.
All right, so I don't really know like other sports that well, but wasn't there like a baseball player that had he was like in the database twice? You could use him as like a pitcher and I forget who that was. Can we do that with Bijan? Can we do that with Bijan? Can I have him
take him as a wide receiver? The thing is that I actually don't know if you're being facetious about not knowing Shohei's name.
No,
okay, you didn't know that. Okay.
I have to. I'll take CeeDee Lamb. I'll have to settle for CeeDee Lamb. We just talked about the stat. I mean, after week 7, if you just ignore his first 7 games, the first 7 weeks of the season, right? They had the week 7 bye. The rest of the season on, he would have been wide receiver 3 for the season just from that production. That's how dominant he was. I know that, he's holding out, might get off to a slow start, but again, he did that last year and still was that good. So not worried about it at all. He's the best in the business. I'll gladly, again, settle, quote unquote, for CeeDee Lamb.
I have seen him drop in a couple of the drafts that I have done already so far this month. So I'll ask you, Adam Schefter, in the interest of as much information as we can bring to the table, your general sense is this deal has a good to very good chance of being done by week 1?
Why didn't you ask him that before I picked?
I kind of wanted to see him say something you wouldn't like to hear.
Jerry Jones said today that there's optimism that they'll get a deal done. Now, I don't know exactly where he's getting that from because there hasn't been much conversation the last few days, but again, this is not a hard deal to figure out. They're not terribly far apart. He's too important for this team not to get that deal done. If this team goes into Cleveland on opening day with Tom Brady in the booth and doesn't have CeeDee Lamb, shame on them for not getting the deal done.
And shame on Mike Clay for taking him 4th overall in the draft. He's not available.
I'd still take him.
I kind of don't want him there now.
Take the first month off. I'm good.
Okay, Liz Loza, you are now on the clock at pick number 5.
Well, it is interesting. I am now left with a quartet of elite receivers. Tyreek Hill is available. I hear he's pretty good. He's went over 100 catches for 3 straight years and over 1,700 yards. The only player to do that in back-to-back seasons. Justin Jefferson's proven to be quarterback agnostic. Amon-Ra St. Brown has a pretty high floor. Of these fellows, however, I think I got to go with the cheetah because Cougars and cheetahs.
I like it.
Very good.
She's like a cougar life. She's like a puma. I'm like a puma.
I don't know much about feline, what phase of which, but well done right there. And yeah, you know what? You got us laughing. So that is a good pick right there. It seems like we've been saying this often on Fantasy Focus, which you can find, of course, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time on ESPN's NFL YouTube page or wherever you get your podcast. It kind of feels like the first 5 picks of most drafts are going to be the 5 players here. The variant will be what happens between picks 2 and 4 because Christian McCaffrey is going 1. Those next 4 guys are going in some order after that. So things now get interesting with the most interesting man at ESPN, Eric Moody.
All right.
No pressure.
But you know, when I'm looking at all these receivers on here, and you have to ask the question, I'm like, do I have a conundrum here where I have to make a decision? I don't believe so. So I am going with Amon-Ra St. Brown here.
Yes. Nicely done.
Daniel Dopp likes that.
I was actually relatively toned down reaction from Daniel right there.
Yeah, save it for later in the show. Come on.
It is early.
I know. I'm surprised. I mean, it's your guy.
The sun god. Eric, tell me why you like him, because I know why I like him.
So I would say the thing about Amon-Ra St. Brown, I'm looking for consistency in round 1 of a draft. You look at some of the numbers. Most games with 100 receiving yards last season, he had 9. Also, he had 13 games with 15 or more fantasy points. He's got great rapport with Jared Goff, so this is a no-brainer pick for me. And I was concerned with some of the things that our very own Adam Schefter was saying about Jamar Chase, so I thought I would go with the sun god here.
There's facts.
That's facts. That will be a good name for a fantasy team.
Just facts. That's facts.
Yeah. Perhaps the most interesting picker at all of ESPN with the most interesting man at Eric Moody now off the board is Anita Marks, because you have a T-shirt for pretty much every player that could be drafted tonight, somehow, some way.
You expense that to ESPN, those T-shirts?
You've got a T-shirt guy. The first shirt you have on right now.
Yeah, it was Amara.
So you,
thank you very much, Eric. Appreciate it.
I won the bit, Eric.
I thought for sure I'd be able to get him at 7. By the way, before we start drafting, I just want to point out the way that I have approached this draft, very demure. Right? Very mindful, very respectful. I come to the draft like I come to ESPN Bet, right? Very approachable, very professional. I just want to point. I just want to point those out for those, of course, who follow TikTok. Anyway, what do I do here? Because in my opinion, Justin Jefferson is for sure this little guy right here. So this little guy right here is like, obviously the best, in my opinion, the best wide receiver on the board. Jamar Chase, I love Jamar Chase, but hey, I believe in Stephania Bell, and Stephania's telling me I just don't know if Joe Burrow is going to stay healthy this season. And you know what? This guy bit me in the behind last season because Joe Burrow did not stay healthy, and Jamar Chase did not demure. Not demure. No, the fact that I said behind. So I could have said something else, but it's a family show. So
what are they talking about?
No idea.
Here's what I'm going with.
Oh!
Erin.
Wow.
Erin Rodgers.
I like that.
I'm going with your guy, Aaron Rodgers. I'm going with Garrett Wilson.
Wow.
Fly, baby,
I got
fly.
sniped.
I was good.
That was your guy.
I thought he might make it to me. I was looking at Garrett Wilson. I mean, listen.
He's been talking about it.
To me, Justin Jefferson's the best wide receiver on the board, but I can't. Like Sam Darnold, what? No, I can't. So I want to go with that nice 1-2 punch. Now, am I taking a risk that Aaron Rodgers could get injured? I can't.
He wasn't getting to you.
There is Tyrod Taylor back there as well.
He wasn't getting to you.
I'm like crushed right now.
The
The proof that the draft does not always go as you plan for.
Well,
No matter what the rankings are.
That's correct. As the Atlanta Falcons showed us a pick number 8 in the real NFL draft this year, the surprise came at pick number 7 in our fantasy draft, which now leaves Adam Schefter with some options at number 8.
Well, I will say now I can confess that when Damien Woody said last night that I'm thinking of going Jersey, I said to myself at that moment, I'm taking Garrett Wilson. So I was sniping Damien, but then Anita sniped me.
Yeah.
So I never got the chance to snipe Damien. So in this particular case, who would ever think that this guy would be on the clock? But we're going to go right here with Justin Jefferson.
There you have it. Okay.
Again, you wouldn't think that he'd be available at pick 8, but he is, and we're going to take him, and he is the best receiver, I think, probably in the league.
He is certainly paid like it right now. He also had 44 targets over the final 4 games of last season. That included a wide receiver 7 and a wide receiver 1 finish with Nick Mullins under center.
That is a perfect example of fantasy football. Sometimes it winds around to you. I'm at pick 8, and I think I'm taking Garrett Wilson at 8.
Yeah.
And that's just where my head was at. And then I'm not. And now it's plan B.
You are not. All right, that brings us to Damien Woody at number 9, the heartbroken Damien Woody with no Garrett Wilson available for the taking, but some really interesting options. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I am crushed. There's no question about it. Anita, she's brilliant. I mean, who could blame her with that pick?
She's demure and brilliant.
She's demure and brilliant. There's no question about that. You know, everyone's been talking about, this whole Jamar Chase and, he's holding out and the questions with Joe Burrow. Yeah. But damn it, I'm taking Jamar Chase.
There you go. At some point, he's got to go.
This man is still that guy. I'm going to take him, and we're going to ride this thing out.
One of 10 players with 150 or more targets last season, Jamar Chase, when he's on the field, is a transcendent level talent. All right, we have one final pick here in the first round, the first of Stephania's 2 picks. We'll take one and then get to a break. Who will be the final player taken in the first round of the biggest mock draft of the year?
So, I love being at the turn because I can figure out what everybody's strategy is here, but then I can also set the trend when I pick my pick in the next round. So I know I want a running back in the first 2 rounds, and I'm just not going to waste time. I'm going to get one of the running backs who, to me, if I waited after these 2 picks, there's going to be a significant drop-off. So I am going to go with Saquon Barkley. I know Mike has to like this because he's an Eagle, but look, I've been a fan of Saquon. I was accused of not being a fan of Saquon a couple years ago. I was concerned about him coming off the ACL, but he proved how you can bounce back a year later, as is often the case, and I think he is going to be awesome for Philadelphia.
Yes.
So. Yes, Eric Moody affirms.
No, I agree because and Damien will appreciate this, being like an offensive line guy. I'm like, you look at the Eagles, they ranked first in run block win rate last year. So he is going to feast like a madman in 2024.
What were the Giants in run block win?
We don't want to talk about it. We're not talking about that.
Yeah. The answer is you don't want to know. All right, so we have made it to the first round of the biggest mock draft of the entire year, and we have recruited Mel Kiper Jr. for his best available. We'll see who's available. Lots of star power still on the board. Round 2 coming up next. That was actually Mike Clay's best available.
Sports Center Special Fantasy Football Draft is presented by ESPN Bet, the official sportsbook of ESPN. And in part by DiGiorno. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno. And Buffalo Wild Wings. Let's go Sports Bar.
Let's go football. The Fantasy Draft Simulcast continues. No commercials. You get Skubie Mageza and Erin, Dolan. We will be with you throughout the entirety of the draft. Now that the first round has wrapped up, Erin, let's take a look at the first round draft picks. And we had a little bit of a running
surprise
back,
at number
right?
1.
we kept going running back. And at the beginning of the show, you did say you were going to be interested to see what happens with the running back position.
Yes, I mean, mean, I'm very surprised with Bijan going second. I know you were talking about him, and I know he was kind of getting sniped around, so I'm interested to see some of these other fantasy managers and what they're thinking for that and if they're surprised by that.
All right, so why don't we bring in some of the fantasy managers? We'll have Tyler Fulghum here joining the Simulcast. Tyler, we appreciate you. You went with Breece Hall, 3rd overall, but judging by your body language, you were thinking of going with Bijan Robinson. Now, why not any wide receivers? Why do you think this draft went to running back so early?
Yeah, I definitely wanted Bijan, not only for myself, but I knew that's who Mike Clay wanted most. So to snipe it from Mike would just been the cherry on top. But in our particular league, PPR, we have 2 wide receiver slots we need to fill and a flex. If we had 3 wide receiver slots, I probably would have gone with Tyreek or CD or Justin Jefferson in that number 3 spot. But I thought getting an anchor hero running back would be more important for my strategy, for my build. So I knew in the 3 spot I was going to end up with either Bijan or Breece. I thought Bijan would be there. I'll settle for Breece. I think his ceiling is just as high. He's going to have a 3-down, 2-minute goal line roll. That offense, as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy, is going to be way better and score more points. And even if Rodgers is not, we saw how good Breece could be last year with inferior quarterback play. So I like the pick.
And Tyler, we were just on ESPN Bet Live. We were talking about Breece Hall, his rushing touchdown props at 7.5. You had said you liked the over. You're one of the only people I can ask a betting question to tonight. So do you still agree with you like over 7.5 rushing touchdowns for Breece?
Yeah, I got to say that. I mean, the 3 options there for better bet were Raheem Mostert, Breece Hall, and Saquon. And I thought of that trio that Breece was the best bet to go over 7.5. That's why I had him ranked in front of Saquon. Of course, Raheem. I'm happy that I think with my 3rd overall pick, I'm going to get someone who scores at least 8 touchdowns, but probably something closer to 15.
All right, Tyler, you're going to be coming up at pick 18. Just real quick before we let you go, anyone you're eyeing? What position? Anything?
I was going to say, I think he had to go.
Well, he's clear.
I was going to say,
come back to Tyler.
We could text him. Don't worry about
we'll
that.
send him the text. Just stick with us here on the Simulcast. We're going to be with you all commercial break, talking to the managers. If you got any questions in the YouTube chat, holler at us and we can ask some of the managers. We're going to be having, who are we going to be having for the second commercial break? We'll have Anita Marks with us.
Ooh,
so back
girl.
to the draft. Enjoy it. We'll see you later.
Welcome back to SportsCenter Special Fantasy Football Draft, presented by ESPN Bet.
We can't wait for the 55th season of Monday Night Football, September 9th, the Jets and the 49ers. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN, ABC, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus with Payne and Eli back on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. Coverage begins with Scott Van Pelt and the Monday Night Countdown crew at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. Presented by ESPN Bet. I'm Field Yates, and nobody cares because we've got royalty in the building. We feel pretty good about that contract getting sorted out in Dallas, so I'm going to take Bijan Robinson. Wow. Wow.
That was rude.
Your thoughts on that?
That was.
I didn't see that coming. I thought I was going to be. We got a board here of the first round, the first 10 selections already behind us. Christian McCaffrey, unsurprisingly, goes number 1. Running back to begin, and then a run of, how about that, 6 straight receivers, with Garrett Wilson going 7th overall. And Tyler Fulghum has the message for America here. That's disgusting, Mike.
It's way more convenient. Is that supposed to be an insult? I'm confused. Why would
convenient Mike Clay gets another
sources
win here.
Sources, I got sources.
that gives me more time to come up with better rankings than you do.
Wow.
I'm busy worrying about nonsense.
Round 2.
How many of them do you have, by the way?
Unfortunately,
That's it?
That's
Oh,
it.
man, round 2. 1 minute per pick. Stephania Bell back on the clock.
Boy, I mean, it's hard to follow that. So the question is, do I take another running back? Do I go with wide receiver? So many options. And look, the wide receiver depth is so substantial that really, to me, I don't have a strong preference. Remember yesterday, it was like there's nobody I have to leave in my draft with. So I'm just sort of looking around, and I think that the one I'm going to go with is Puka Nacua.
Oh, okay.
And so, it's a vote of confidence in his knee.
Okay.
In Sean McVay, I trust. I think he's one of the most transparent when it comes to talking about his players who are recovering.
More so than Belichick?
With a
Just a bit.
Yeah, I'll just leave that right there. Puka Nacua had a bursa sack problem, but should be fine once he gets back to playing ready for week 1. I'm not concerned. Love the player. Like, he was a revelation last year, and the most impressive thing he did was maintain his fantasy value when Cooper Kupp returned. And so, to me, that he played all 17 games. He's tough as nails, and I think he's going to be productive week in and week out. So give me durability, youth. I know you like that.
Yeah.
And talent that is not dependent on the other primary receiver being absent.
What I don't like is that I've been buying the dip on Puka Nacua. I was hoping everyone was going to pass because of the injury and I'd get him, but all right, well done.
Damien Woody on the clock at pick number 12.
I'm get an A from you at the end of all this.
Are we handing out grades?
It's working.
We might be.
Barkley and
Stay tuned to the very end to find out. Damien Woody.
Yeah, I've been, this offseason, there's been one team that I've kind of said there's been like a sleeper team that I'm bullish on. And that team resides in Indianapolis, the Colts. Okay. There's one particular play where everyone's been talking about Anthony Richardson, how he, expects to break out. But I'm going to pick his backfield mate, Jonathan Taylor.
I like it.
I think Jonathan Taylor, the plan that they're going to have as far as running the football with that animal, Anthony Richardson in the backfield, they're going to unleash hell on a lot of opposing defenses, and I think Jonathan Taylor is going to put up some really big numbers this year. So that's where I'm going.
Finished really strong last season. Did JT look like his old self? Right back to Adam Schefter, who previously was going to draft Garrett Wilson before he was sniped by Anita Marks. Now you have the chance to return the favor if you can call her shot.
Well, we're going to go with a Detroit Lion running back.
All right, this is important, America.
Who's questionable right now with the hamstring injury, but not worried about it. I think he'll be available on opening night to go up against Puka Nacua.
I like it.
The Los Angeles
We're
Rams.
taking Montgomery.
And we are taking Jahmyr Gibbs, and we're going to match him with Justin Jefferson to give us two dynamic playmakers in the NFC North.
All right.
You know what Jahmyr Gibbs did for me last year?
Wow. Okay.
You know whose expense that came at.
I know. Just throwing it out there.
You guys had quite a fierce competition in the War Room League final. Congratulations to you both for making it that far. Anita, you are now back on the clock. You shocked us once. Will you do it again?
Yeah, I don't like 7. I don't like drafting at 7. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just don't.
How many T-shirts will you have by the end of the night? More or less? More or fewer than 7?
So fun. So I participated in like a ton of mock drafts, but like none of the guys that I thought would be available to me at 7 in the mock drafts I participated in are anyway.
So you're saying we're the smartest crew you've drafted?
Obviously.
I'm surprised.
Maybe that's what I'm saying.
Have you participated in 35 though? Mock drafts?
Like quite a bit.
Okay.
I actually wouldn't put that past you.
There's not a lot to do up here in Bristol, Connecticut.
You speak for yourself. Easy.
Participated in mock drafts till 3 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, so I have obviously Kyren Williams, right, from the Rams. Pacheco, who I think is going to have a really great season with Kansas City. But something is pulling at my heartstrings for Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens. I don't know, but I just feel like one thing I do know, and Damien, you can attest to this because you took Taylor. When you have a dual threat quarterback who can run the football, running lanes, wide open, all day, baby. Age concerns me. I got to go with Derrick. I've got to go with Derrick Henry.
Do it.
I got to go with Derrick Henry.
Mike Clay, your thoughts?
He might lead the NFL running backs in touchdowns this season, even though Lamar Jackson.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And he's a unicorn. He is not a running back who's going to suffer the same kind of wear and tear. Look how durable he's been, essentially. Other than that 1 foot injury he had, he's really been strong through the entire
stamp of approval.
career. Yeah.
Stephania Bell here.
Okay.
And Lamar Jackson doesn't steal rushing touchdowns. He's absolutely a mobile quarterback, but he's not Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts. So like that goal
Or
line
Anita
role-
Marks stealing Garrett Wilson.
Exactly. It's very different. Yeah.
He cares about his teammates. All right, you're on the clock, Mr. Moody.
All right, Ham, the pick is in. I am going with A.J. Brown.
Oh, that was
About dang time. That's exactly what I was thinking, too. And when she went, the opposite direction, I was smiling inside, but now I can let that smile just come out on live TV right here. So let's talk about A.J. Brown. So you look at last year, he had an NFL record 6 straight games with 125 or more receiving yards.
That was good.
And he's had nearly 3,000 receiving yards over the last 2 seasons, which is the 3rd most in the league. So I'm very excited to have Amon-Ra St. Brown and A.J. Brown. As they both have the last name Brown.
Got to draft the Browns.
So I'm very excited with having them as my top 2 receivers.
All right, Liz Loza, pick number 16.
Well, I am presented with what some might consider a conundrum. I have Kyren Williams and Isaiah Pacheco at my disposal here at my avail, and I've taken a wide receiver in the 1st round. So I do like to follow a hero or anchor RB strategy. Kyren Williams obviously averaged the 2nd most, just behind CMC, fantasy points per game. And yet, I'm not buying it because I am very high on Blake Corum, who the Rams drafted in the 3rd round and proved that he could handle all of the volume during his time in Ann Arbor. So I am going to go, this might be a shock, with the running back who is attached to, I don't know, the best quarterback in the entire league, Isaiah Pacheco.
That's controversial right there. You believe that about Mahomes?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I like it.
I just was noticing on Twitter today that when you post your fantasy rankings and Patrick Mahomes isn't number 1,
this is therapy now.
people get mad. Fantasy
This
rankings.
is every day before the podcast.
Yes.
Every day as he's going through his mention. I like that. 8 touchdowns.
All
in his
your
final
burners
8
are
games.
lighting me up.
Just
Yeah,
to
that's true.
piggyback on what Daniel said in regard to Lamar Jackson not stealing touchdowns from Derrick Henry, do you know that Patrick Mahomes, 0 rushing touchdowns in the regular season last? 0. None. So
He's got a dad body, can't run around.
Wow. Patrick Mahomes catching strays.
He'll be all right. He'll be all right. He'll probably like that.
have you visited that camp yet?
No.
Mike Clay, you are now on the clock.
Yeah, I'm
Your
a
second pick.
little self-conscious about my dad.
Tighten up.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't have to say much about my pick because you just said all the nice things about Kyren Williams. But what it really comes down to is this guy loves his Los Angeles Rams. And here I am sitting with a Los Angeles Ram right in front of me.
I'll
Kyren
say
Williams is the pick.
Kyren probably likes puppies and puts the toilet seat down. So you did make a good pick there.
Mike some manners.
I begrudgingly admit that Kyren Williams.
Wait, you like this one?
I do.
Ah, man, that actually, my cheat sheet. I might have to change. Can I change this pick? My cheat sheet is just not drafting anyone you like.
He was the 2nd best fantasy running back last year outside of Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
on a per game basis. So I mean, I know Blake Corum might be
Kyren's the
Michigan man, might be a bit of a threat, but we know Sean McVay, when he finds running backs that he loves, and he loves Kyren Williams.
Unfortunately, he was at one point playing 99% of the offensive snaps, and that's not good
That
for
can drop and
longevity.
he'll still be fine. I'm in on him. I think he's so young too. He's gonna have another huge season.
All right, so Tyler Fulghum is next up on the clock, and I've never been more confident in anything in my life.
Me neither.
He is going to take the player that I know I want 1 pick later.
There is at least one Ram left worth taking at this point, and that is Cooper Kupp. And I'm going to take Cooper Kupp. You may have thought I was taking a Miami running back.
Yes. Wow, that's the biggest shock so
I have a
far.
running back, so I'm taking Cooper Kupp. I want a wide receiver.
The player who's 45th rated on the overall board?
Shefty, you may recall just 2 years ago that this particular wide receiver had literally the greatest fantasy receiving season of all time.
Yeah.
And I know he got hurt last year, but before, remember the first drive when he came back against Philadelphia in week 5 or 6? It's like 5 catches for 65 yards. I was watching that game with you, Shefty, in the war room down there. Twitter was blowing up like, oh my God, Cooper Kupp's even better than ever.
Yep.
Now we saw Puka Nacua get in there. They're going to be 1A, 1B, but on any given day, I think we can get those 10-catch, 100-yard TD performances from Cooper Kupp. He looks and appears as healthy as ever this training camp.
I'm looking at Mike Clay's draft cheat sheet. And by this estimation, he's got Cooper Kupp as the 24th rated wide receiver in this draft.
Should we just do should we do the final draft grades now?
Wow.
Draft at this point.
Yeah.
Michael Clay, what?
And you picked him at pick 18.
But
and
you
he's got
got
him
your
as a
guy. You got your guy.
Wide receiver 24.
I got my guy. And then listen, I thought someone may come back around to me. It appears that is not going to be the case.
It is not going to be the case. I don't think.
I can't believe it.
Because I thought the player that you were going to take is actually not a running back. but instead my pick at number 19. Marvin Harrison Jr., who I know Daniel Dopp was not going to let me get my hands on.
That's a better pick. Good job.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Marvin Harrison Jr., who has the clearest path to a dominant wide receiver one role for a rookie than we have seen in quite some time. We were talking about the potential for a Justin Jefferson-type rookie season, an Odell Beckham Jr.-type rookie season for a player who is the most pro-ready prospect in the entire NFL draft this past year, who goes to an offense that has a very capable quarterback in Kyler Murray, an offense that I think if you go back and watch them last year, maximized all the talent they had or did not have, looks much better on paper. Wouldn't surprise me if Marvin Harrison Jr. in his rookie season has 150 targets, which only 10 players in the entire NFL did last year. Dopp, you're on the clock.
Yeah, this one's easy for me.
Okay.
Because I want to leave this round with a running back if I can help it. And thankfully, a running back got here that I am still in on. Even though I took CMC up front, number 1 overall, I love Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
I'm going to take Travis Etienne.
He's become boring, and it's really freaking good.
You know what? That's the thing. I feel like he's this guy that gets lost in the running back room amongst all these other guys.
Yeah.
He had 9 games with 17 or more fantasy points last year. 9 games.
57 catches.
That is huge. And he still has room to unlock even more efficiency from his game. I think he can continue to be the guy in this offense. I view him as a low-end RB1, so the idea that I got an RB1 in CMC and Travis Etienne, I now get to grab a wide receiver in the
question. Will you give me him in a trade for Daniel Jones and Romeo Doubs? We do that?
Probably not. No, I will not do that.
12 months ago, would you have done that?
24 months ago.
Yeah, okay.
Mike Clay is that guy in your dynasty league that just pesters you with a trade offer until you say yes, and then brags about it when it looks great. 12 months.
Oh, I will, yeah.
All right, take a look at the best available players as we wrap up round 2. Round 3 is just around the corner. That is some wide receiver star power, plus Joe Mixon, now a Houston Texan. Find out how long these people have to wait to hear their names called.
Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast here. Skubie Mageza, Erin, Dolan. We continue the coverage. No commercial breaks. Second round was interesting,
Yes,
so let's take a look at it. Starting off with Puka Nacua, Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Derrick Henry. So we went back on a little running back role here, and then A.J. Brown. What stood out to you here, Erin?
I mean, I was a little surprised A.J. Brown went that, high there, but and also Fulghum, Cooper Kupp, a little surprising for him too. I think Adam took a few shots at him there, but this is where it starts getting real. Not that it gets dicey, but it gets interesting at who's gonna take who based on their strategy.
All right, well, we bring in Anita Marks now. Anita, welcome to our little show here. You went with Garrett Wilson and then Derrick Henry. How happy are you with that Derrick Henry pickup? Because just looking at the YouTube chat, I saw all of y'all talking in there, mixed reactions, but a lot of upside there still.
There is a lot of upside. Listen, it was a tough decision to make, right? Williams was still on the board. Pacheco was still on the board. Derrick Henry. I do have some concerns in regards to his age, but I just think this offense that he's in, one thing we know, dual threat quarterbacks, what happens, they open up those rushing lanes for those running backs, and we know how great Derrick Henry is, boy. Downhill runner, watch out, nobody can tackle him. I think there's a chance that maybe he leads all running backs this season in touchdowns. So I felt like he had such a high ceiling. I went with it.
And Anita, you were very demure. A lot of people didn't know what that meant. I was like, have you not been on TikTok? So very demure in a way of you to have this many T-shirts. You told me right around 30, right?
I brought in about 30 T-shirts.
Oh my goodness. Do you think you're going to get a T-shirt for every single player? Because I think you did that last season. You basically got every player.
I tried, and I participated in a lot of mock drafts at the 7th spot, thinking like, okay, here are the players that are going to be available, but man, this is a whole another group of competitors I'm with tonight, more so than those mock drafts online. That's for sure. You got some of the smartest people in the business down there.
Anita, this is kind of the juicy part of the draft here. Real quick, any position or player that you're targeting in this next round?
Not really. At this point, especially sitting at 7, I'm just going to sit and see, who's available, who's coming back to me with the most value. So it's either going to be a running back or a wide receiver. I'm not going to reach for a quarterback at 3. I'm not going to take a tight end at 3. So it's either going to be a wide receiver or a running back.
All right, we appreciate you, Anita. We're going to keep an eye on everything going on in the draft. Good luck going forward. And Erin, a lot of talk in there about Cooper Kupp in the chat. I'm taking a look. And
good or bad?
Good,
Oh.
and some bad. Some people feel like it was still a reach, but Cooper Kupp, coming off of a little bit of an injury-ridden season,
he is.
I think he can still have a great bounce-back year.
Yes, of course, we're expecting everyone to bounce back after you have a down year, especially after he had so many successful years before that. Tyler had mentioned that in terms of fantasy also from a betting perspective as well. But Tyler is a Rams fan, so that does not surprise me too much. But yes, I wouldn't be surprised if he bounced back as long as Matthew Stafford's able to stay healthy.
Yeah, and Matthew Stafford, another interesting player when it comes down towards fantasy position. You can get a lot of value for him. We're in the 3rd round now, and in the 3rd round, that's when you start to see the QB position pick up. I've already seen it in the comments. Which QB is going to go? Is it Patrick Mahomes? Is it Jalen Hurts? Josh Allen? We're going to be keeping up with all of it and then come back to us after commercial. So we send it back to Field and the crew for the Fantasy Football Draft.
ESPN Fantasy Football is the #1 fantasy game, and with the season right around the corner, sign up now and get your league started at ESPN.com/fantasyfootball. What a time it has been so far. Take a look at some of these elite wide receivers still on the board as we begin round 3. Chris Olave, Michael Pittman Jr., he was awesome last year. Devontae Adams, the guy maybe is the best receiver of the past half-decade in the entire league. Round 3, Daniel Dopp on the clock here. You have made 2 selections, both running backs so far.
That's right.
Do you finally fill one of your wide receiver gaps?
Finally. I don't think I'm going to go 3 running backs in spite of how much Mike loves them early on.
Go for it. Jameson Williams it is.
So not going to be Jameson Williams. I think there's 2 wide receivers that have just had really tough quarterback play the first 2 years in the NFL. Garrett Wilson was one of them.
And?
The other one is my guy, Drake London.
Yeah.
Finally, gets Kirk Cousins under center. Now Arthur Smith is out of that offense. Thank the Lord for that. And we have Zach Robinson coming in from the Rams. You can tell me all about this Rams offense under Matthew Stafford, but they like to sling it. I know that Stafford is going to be able to go out there and find his guy. This is the year. Year 3, Drake London finally gets unlocked. I love him as a wide receiver 1 after going running back.
He could do what Cooper Kupp did a couple of years ago, be that type of target earner. If he stays healthy, Kirk Cousins balls out. That's the type of role I think Robinson has.
Yeah, it's like the biggest message we could give to people this year in fantasy drafts is just forget about the old Falcons offense.
Everything about it.
It could not be different. I mean, you have a couple of the star players, but the scheme, the quarterback, everything is so different. Forget it all. It's going to be great in fantasy this year.
Yep.
I like it.
All right, there you go. Well done there by Daniel Dopp as we continue to move things along here in round 3 of the Fantasy Football mock draft for the Fantasy Football Marathon. I am on the clock, and I am contemplating debating between a couple of different wide receivers, and instead I'm going to take James Cook.
Ooh.
Yeah, I keep doing that. That was the wrong. I keep faking out. I don't mean to do that. Probably bad for the producers as well. James Cook, and part of the reason here is I am not at the turn, but I'm not picking for a long time, and the running back depth is going to be very thin by the time I come back around here in the 4th round. James Cook, who last year all he couldn't do was score touchdowns, which is very important, but he was top 5 in the NFL in yards per scrimmage, obviously a big factor in the passing game as well. And if you watch that Bills offense, once Joe Brady took over, he featured James Cook more. I feel good about my top 2 running backs now.
All right, I think I'm on the clock then, right?
You are.
Faster than he can run a 40. This one's for you, Nana. Devon Achane. I mean, we are trying to win fantasy football. It's not about coming in second. It's not about coming in 8th. You need to have the fortitude to take someone who could have a legendary season. And if Devon Achane bumps up his value a bit and that offense stays healthy, because you can't focus on him with Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, that efficiency could be Chris Johnson-esque, Jamal Charles-esque, and we could have a 2,000-yard season from Devon Achane. That is my gamble. That's why I'm taking him in the 3rd round.
I'm just going to tell you, Nana was blowing me up.
Nana!
Close there.
Blowing me up to take H.N.
Well, I trust my Nana. She's a good source for you, Schefter.
Oh, my goodness.
Look, I was fully prepared to go in on you about this, but Adam's just he wins. I can't beat this. I got nothing on it.
Mike's uncomfortable.
Clay's up.
I mean, it's a terrible pick, but I mean. I'll just leave it at that.
Mike Clay, you're up.
Okay, I will take. Well, look, I don't check my phone. Nothing. I don't want any angry DMs from Rachaad White this year, so I will take Rachaad White.
All right.
Yeah, he was angry because the Bucs running back room wasn't great on paper. You know, he was unproven at that point, but we did like him as a sleeper, and he had a terrific season. Was top 5 in basically every category. Good as a pass catcher and a rusher. The efficiency as a rusher hasn't been there yet, but that, there's still something on the vine there for Rachaad White. So I'll gladly get him as my RB2.
Feels like this is a spot where you guys are taking running backs before that fall off happens in the second.
Exactly what happened for me, because I was sitting there thinking to myself, there's such good receiver value. I mean, Chris Olave, Michael Pittman Jr., are you kidding me? And yet, by the time we get back around to both Mike and I, we could be looking at still some great receivers.
Agreed.
I won't name names because I want them to stay. Smart. Liz, back on the clock, 25.
Field, this morning on Focus, we talked about how attacking the draft means attacking the upside in the beginning because there is so much value, particularly at wide receiver later in the draft. And Daniel, you've made a point about Marvin Harrison Jr. obviously having these elite NFL bloodlines and being so pro-ready, but there is another rookie wide receiver in the draft who Mike has projected to draw over 120 looks. I like to call him the separation king, Bolitnikoff finalist. Give me Malik Neighbors now. I'm not waiting.
Love it. I
I'm not old enough to be a cougar. It's a Puma.
Look at this. And the shirt even from Anita Marks. That's what you're looking for.
Oh,
Well, you guys are in cahoots now?
Good shirt.
Do you get to keep that?
I mean, she pounced.
Okay. Wow. All right, Malik Neighbors goes 25th off the board. Still trying to find him here in the overall.
27 overall.
I love that pick, by the way. Brian Dable's going to use him all day long.
Hey, you know what? Mike Clay, I give him credit for this. Mike, because he does the projections, which are the baseline for our rankings, tends to be more in the middle with where people are with their player rankings. You're all in on Malik Neighbors at wide receiver.
I have him super high. The thing about rookies is there's always that level of uncertainty. Is this guy a bust? Because half of the guys in the first round are going to be busts this year. That's just the nature of the NFL.
Wet blanket.
Watching Malik Neighbors, though, the first training camp and in the preseason so far, he doesn't look anything like a bust. So I'm buying in for sure. I love the pick.
Eric Moody, number 26 for you, your third pick.
Yeah, probably make this quick. I was a little concerned because I'm looking at Chris Olave there. So I'm having the same situation that you were in, Field. Okay. But I can't do it. I got to get a running back here, so I'm going with Alvin Kamara.
There you go.
So got to go with Alvin Kamara here. It's really tough to pass up on Kamara at his ADP. I know a lot of people are thinking, hey, he finished with the fewest yards per touch of his career at 4.5, but he's still a great receiver out of the backfield. So I need an RB1. I'm going with Kamara.
Yeah, limited competition for work in that same backfield as well. Anita Marks, you are up, pick 27.
How can I not take Devontae Adams?
He's almost a full round past ADP.
I mean, seriously. And I love me some Minshew, right? I'm the president of the Gardner Minshew fan club.
Prove it with a T-shirt.
I left that one at home.
I have a jersey if you want to borrow that.
I could bring up here from New York. Again, you could argue best top 3 wide receiver in the NFL. And I think the Raiders are going to be playing from behind. I think they're going to throw the ball. And who knows? Maybe he gets traded to the Jets. Damien and Aaron Rodgers is his quarterback. Who knows? Anyway, Adams. There we go.
170 targets each of the last 3 seasons, and you know that they're going to throw the ball up this year.
From Devontae Adams to Adam Schefter at pick 28.
You said that Devontae Adams was around past value.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right.
But there's a receiver that's ranked even higher than Devontae Adams.
He's still also around past value.
And he's also still around. And we're going to take him here. Chris Olave, the New Orleans Saints wide receiver at pick 28. Now that is a value.
Big time value.
Chris Olave is a top 20 pick. Yeah. He's going to be the number 1 wideout in that offense. Last year, he had 138 targets, projected for another 138.5 or whatever it may be.
9 games with 9 targets or more last season.
I'll take a lot of volume. New scheme, too. Clint Kubiak. They're going to find new ways to get him the ball. Yeah, better. Agreed.
A much more modern offense compared to what they were running previously. Damien Woody picked number 29. It's been a while.
It's been a while. A lot of decisions got to be made here. I'm going to go back to Indianapolis.
Whoa.
Oh, I like it.
Colt stack.
I'm going Michael Pittman.
All right.
I'm going Michael Pittman.
I was hoping it was Richardson. I'm not going to lie.
The first
I was ready
might
for
be
it.
coming off the board.
Can't go wrong with Pittman, who obviously last year was probably the steadiest wide receiver in all of fantasy football.
Awesome.
Every single week, 10+ targets. Remember that game in which it looked like he was going to be toast for a while, and he took this massive hit late against the Steelers. The guy's so tough, so competitive, and so physical for that team last year. 99 catches can be hard to replicate, but even if the offense takes a little bit of a step back,
in the passing department this year with a new quarterback, still going to be a monster year.
Yeah, it might be more scrambling this year in that offense with Anthony Richardson under center. But remember, they ran the 5th fastest paced offense last year. Tons of plays. It's going to be good for Michael Pittman.
Stephania Bell. America is awaiting your picks.
I am going to go with a guy who flew under the radar when he first came into the league, but all he needed was a rock star quarterback. So I'm going to take Nico Collins.
Good pick.
Just, you know, I mean, just exploded last year in the presence of CJ Stroud. And really, we saw it right away out of the gate. Obviously, there are a lot of mouths to feed, as they say in Houston, but I don't see CJ Stroud letting up on the gas in terms of throwing the football.
It seems late for him, too.
Yeah, a few spots. I mean, somebody over here took Cooper Kupp like way too early and Devon Achane. So, yeah, he fell down the board a little bit. Good value.
Nana for that one, baby.
Yes, good value. And I love Chris Olave. I trust the quarterback in Houston more. That's all.
That's fair. There you have it. So we are now 3 full rounds in. 2 players in our top 30 have not yet been selected, including the previously mentioned Devon Achane, who, of course, made for spirited conversation last night. It will make a whole lot much more sense for those that maybe didn't see it live. Adam Schefter, who's yours?
I got a text just before that whatever you do, take Devon Achane. Amazing enough that Tyler's mom had my number.
We're back with you, the Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast. Scubie, Mageza, Erin, Dolan. We keep things rolling. No commercial.
Rolling with Dolan.
Rolling with Dolan. That needs to be a show that we get going, too. The powers that known. Do it up. All right, let's check out what happened in that round. Round 3 selections. Daniel Dopp started off with Drake London after getting Travis Etienne right before this, and he will be joining us in just a couple of minutes, maybe even 30 seconds. And then you see how the rest of the round shaped up. Some running backs. Alvin Kamara went a little bit earlier than I thought there, Erin. But nonetheless, we get our first Houston wide receiver, Nico Collins, to go. We now bring in Daniel Dopp onto the show. And Dopp, what's good, my boy?
What's good, baby? How you doing?
I was texting Dopp before the show, and I'm like, Dopp, who you going with first? He said, CMC. I said, go Bijan. He said, no, I am sticking with CMC. And you pulled the trigger. I respected it, you know. But Christian McCaffrey going #1 in ESPN Fantasy Draft. The bad news, and this is a SIG stat, is the last 4 #1 picks in fantasy football finished outside the top 30 at their position. How do you feel about CMC when you hear that, Dopp? You could have gone with a younger guy.
I could have gone with a younger guy, but listen, the reason why that stat exists is because those guys have gotten hurt. Obviously, CMC actually a part of that list in 2020 and 2021, getting hurt both of those seasons. I'm not worried about that. I'm not going to play scared, Scooby, right? This is the guy that is the best running back in the professional football league. I feel like if you don't go CMC 1.01, you're just asking for trouble. As much as I love Bijan and Breece Hall, I feel like I had to go with my guy there.
Yeah, and you can't play scared. I mean, also scared money don't make no money. So when looking at Christian McCaffrey, I mean, right now he's plus 400 to lead the league in rushing yards. He's tied with Derrick Henry with his player prop at 10.5 rushing touchdowns, I should say, for this upcoming season. So anything you put your money on?
Yeah, I would put my money on Derrick Henry, actually, even though I love the CMC play. Derrick Henry getting 10.5 rushing touchdowns? Dude, I am all in on that. However, CMC, I think, is going to get there as well. I would love to have not just rushing touchdowns because he's such a weapon in the passing game as well. We'll see how it works out with CMC, but I feel pretty happy with it.
All right, Dopp, great job over there. And I expect to see Jake Bates on
you
your
know
roster.
It, baby. I'm drafting him
UFL
tonight.
Players are going in on Dopp's roster. Let's go. Good luck for the rest of the draft, buddy.
Thank you, bud.
Yeah, so Dopp going in over there with CMC.
I'm nervous about CMC.
Really good about it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I've talked about it on SportsCenter multiple different shows. Like after a player has such a good season, they typically have a little bit of a step back, some regression that we've seen.
Yeah, and it's especially with his age as it goes.
And it's the running back position specifically is why we target that health.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, but it could literally go either way. CMC is a freak of nature. Derrick Henry is a guy who is a freak of nature. You just tend to think that it'll work out for him. I know he switched his workout regimen, which is why he was healthier last year. So maybe he sticks with it and it works this season, Erin.
Yeah, Eat your greens, right?
Yeah, definitely. Eat your greens, drink your water, get your sleep. Erin apparently doesn't require sleep. She sleeps like 20 minutes a night. This is no lie. It's what she told me during commercial break. So we're going to send it back to Field Yates and the crew. We'll see you back here soon. Peace out. Enjoy the show.
This one's for you, Nana. Devon Achane.
I'm just going to tell you, Nana was blowing me up. Blow me up to take Achane.
I trust my Nana. She's a good source for you, Schefter.
So good.
So good.
Join the nearly 1.4 million people that have drafted a fantasy team on ESPN.com. We're back here. Round 4 of our mock draft special begins, and we are back on the clock with the great Stephania Bell.
Well, you know, I was really trying to get that good grade out of Mike Clay at the end of the season.
It's working.
That's all about to go out the window.
Oh, boy.
So I wanted Devon Achane, but I thought with you here that might not happen. So I am going to go because, again, at the turns, I can start something if I want to. And
Quarterback time.
Oh, boy. Don't do it.
I'm very nervous.
Don't
very
do it.
upset. But I know if I don't take this player now, he's not going to make his way back to me. And again, you got to like who's on your team.
And that's okay.
So I'm going to take Sam Laporta.
Whoa, love it. First tight end off the board.
That's not who I thought you were saying.
That's not what you thought.
Okay. Don't say anything. I'll wait. Yeah.
She's got 2 in a row.
I mean, he's my top tight end, so no major issues.
Yep.
I know
That's not how I thought it was going to be.
I know what you guys thought, but I know it feels like a wee bit early, but he's just supremely talented. Breakout rookie season. It's going to keep going from there. He's a huge part of the Lions offense, and to me, the value at this point in time.
You got to wait 20 picks for it to get back to you as well, Stephania. At this point, you got to take the guy
That'll make you anxious. All right, D. Woody, you're back on the clock.
Looking at my running back situation going on, we're starting to hit a little dire straits right now.
Sounds like you need a better offensive line, Damien.
I know. And I'm struggling between 2 individuals, but I'm going to make this thing simple. I'm going Josh Jacobs.
Yeah, there you go.
I like that.
New location for Josh Jacobs, who, of course, signs a big 4-year, $48 million deal with the Green Bay Packers. And D. Woody has himself a power back at pick number 32. Schefter back on the board at 33. Contemplating his thing.
Scrolling.
Yeah, the silence is nerve-wracking.
Rolling pretty far down there, Schefter.
I don't see his phone.
Oh boy. I think we got a splash coming.
We do.
Yeah, splash. We got a splash coming.
We're going to start the quarterback run here, man.
Wait a minute.
Did he do it?
Don't tell me it's the guy I'm thinking.
It is.
That's a great pick, Schefter.
Anthony Richardson.
Let's go.
Here we go.
No,
It's not a fancy draft until Anthony Richardson.
There we go.
That's why I thought
Adam,
Stephania.
admit it. You were so relieved when I went Sam Laporta.
You know what? I was fine, but once you said it, you planted the idea. You know what? If Stephania's not going to do it, then I'll do it. We'll have some fun.
I
Love it. Go big or go home, Clay.
Anthony Richardson just got picked over Josh Allen.
Wow.
Nope.
Right. Okay. Well,
That's what we're doing.
Wrong
That's what we're doing.
That's right. Because hey, in Schefter's defense, if he wanted Anthony Richardson, he would not get him in round 5.
Absolutely.
So he took him in round 4. Anita Marks, you were on the clock.
Okay.
Why not?
Very tempted to go with Mike Evans here.
I know, still sitting there waiting.
DK Metcalf, I'm looking at some of the running backs. I think Walker's going to have a big season in Seattle. But I'm going to pick up where Schefter left off. And I'm not going to take Josh Allen.
Wow.
I'm going to take your guy, Jalen Hurts.
Ooh. Josh is taking this very
I know a lot of people
right now.
fading him because they're worried without Kelsey. How's the tush push going to happen? You add Saquon Barkley. Is that going to remove the rushing touchdowns? I still think Jalen Hurts is going to be, top 2, top 3 quarterback in fantasy this year.
Josh Allen disrespect. I don't think I've seen him fall to third at all.
It's been a long time.
Happened in any of our mocks? I don't think so.
Not in the mock I've been in so
Wow.
far
I don't
this
know
summer.
what changed, but okay.
Eric Moody with an opportunity to draft
Mike is
Josh Allen.
Flaming people in the middle of the draft.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because the QB run is not going to continue with me. I'm looking at the running back depth. It is drying up quickly, so I'm going to draft Joe Mixon.
All right, there you
do
go.
it every time.
So the reason I like Joe Mixon, he had 31 goal-to-go carries last season. First in the NFL. We all know how exciting that Houston Texans offense is with C.J. Stroud, the trio of receivers that they have. So I think he's going to get a ton of touchdowns this year, and I'm happy having him as my RB2 for this team.
Interesting. 2 running backs age 28 or older on Eric Moody's team.
Wow.
Concerning.
Well, sounds like a secret.
Senior roster right there.
Look, last 5 years, you look at top 15 finishes by running backs, only 6% have been by running backs age 28 or older to start the season. It's risky.
How old CMC?
I was going to say
CMC is 20.
No, Mark, why didn't you say that before I did the first pick?
Because I've said it 400 times on the pod this year.
I don't listen to you on the podcast. Come on.
Next 2 of us for the record.
He's a unicorn. CMC.
Yeah, he is a unicorn.
Liz Loza on the clock again. But you love the Derrick Henry pick, by the way, just for the record.
What?
You love the Derrick Henry pick.
Rushing touchdowns. And the point I was going to make earlier is last year, he only played half the snaps. Tajay Spears was busy, too, so he doesn't have to be a feature back to be a high-end fantasy scorer. So
there you go.
Give me 12, 13, 14 rushing touchdowns, high rushing efficiency. Doesn't need a lot of targets.
It's Liz's turn.
You're talking about David Montgomery? Or Derrick Henry?
Derrick Henry.
All right, got it.
I mean, I'm a little shook. And it's not just because I'm sitting next to the biggest celebrity here, which is Adam Schefter's phone.
Oh, I thought you were talking about me.
Trying to look at it. It's something. I need a running back. All I have is Isaiah Pacheco, but also I don't like drafting for need, and I really don't want to deal with Kenneth Walker Jr. or Kenneth Walker III because I feel optimistic about Zach Charbonnet, and there is so much value on this board. So everyone else seems to be throwing things out the window. I'm going to take Josh Allen.
There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
Hey,
Like it, Liz.
third quarterback off the board is the highest scoring quarterback in 3 of the past 4 seasons. No real explanation needed with Josh Allen. And the biggest piece of pushback that I've heard so far from people is, well, what about Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis being gone? First of all, have you really been bothered by Gabe Davis one way or the other when he's been with the Buffalo Bills? The answer is not. Second of all, in the final 11 games, when Stephon Diggs had under 100 receiving yards in all 11 of those, go check Josh Allen's game log. A top 8 quarterback, like 8 out of those 11 times. The guy is basically immune to any of the factors.
You may have just said this, so I apologize if you did. But last year, Jalen Hurts led the NFL with 15 rushing touchdowns among quarterbacks. Josh Allen had 15 rushing touchdowns as well last season. He was right up there, so the guy can do it with his legs and his arm.
You're on the clock.
I am on the clock, and I cannot believe this guy fell into my lap. You know where I'm going here. Mike Evans. Mike Evans. Easy pick here. The guy has just been fantastic for so long. 1,000+ yards every season he's been in the NFL. Tons of touchdowns. Always near the top of the league in end zone targets. I know he's over 30 right now, but we've still seen a lot of star receivers put up huge seasons in their early 30s. So no sign of drop off last year. He's going to do it again this year.
All right, there you have it. Mike Evans makes the second buck on Mike Clay's team. Tyler Fulghum now up at pick number 38. Good for a curveball every once in a while, Tyler.
I am good for a curveball. I like drafting good players on really good offenses. And
that seems smart.
Right? It seems like if an offense is going to score a lot of touchdowns, I want pieces of that action. And both San Francisco wide receivers are still sitting out there. I'm going to take Deebo Samuel. I'm going to take Deebo Samuel right here. And whether Brandon Ayuk makes it onto another team or is staying in that wide receiver room, I think Deebo Samuel, with what he can do on the ground, what he can do through the air, the contingent value if Ayuk misses time because he hasn't been in training camp or gets traded, we know if he's off the field, Samuel's usage, Kittle's usage go way up. So I think the Niners are again going to have one of the best offenses in the league. I'll take Deebo as a piece of that.
That's 2 really good picks and 2 really bad picks. So you're in progress, man. On our way up. Good job. We're getting there.
All right,
steady
so,
progress.
There, Mike, as always, ribbing Tyler. You love to see it. I am now up at pick number 39, and I am going to pick the other, at least for now, 49ers wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk. Adam Schefter might be working the phones right now to figure out whether he will be a 49er for long. I think, though, if he stays in San Francisco, pick 39 will wind up being a value pick on Brandon Ayuk. If he goes to Pittsburgh, no comment.
You and Arthur Smith can rekindle your relationship.
Take that back right now. You're up, yeah.
Left him speechless.
Yeah. Daniel?
All right. So listen, there are 3 Jacksons that I love in my life. One is my nephew, Jackson Engler. Shout out to you, buddy. I love you. 2 is Jackson Agello, who works on the Fantasy Focus Football Podcast.
A legend.
Producer extraordinaire.
And 3 is Lamar Jackson, because all this guy does is score fantasy points with his legs. We had a little bit of a quarterback run here. I understand I could have grabbed him in the 5th, because I have the next pick overall. But listen, I want to be able to grab my quarterback, wrap up that position, feel like I'm good to go, and Lamar Jackson is going to continue to do what he does. Reigning NFL MVP, the guy just is a cheat code with his legs.
Yeah.
I mean, what else do you want me to say? This offense is going to be even better with Derrick Henry as well, so I'm all in on him.
Okay, there you have it. 4 rounds in the books. We still have much more ahead, including some players that you're probably saying to yourself, are they really still on the board? Like Travis Kelce, the guy who's been the most dominant player in fantasy football, regardless of position, over the past 6 years. His wait probably won't be that much longer.
You're watching SportsCenter Special Fantasy Football Draft, presented by ESPN Bet.
Skubie, Mageza, Erin, Dolan. We keep this show rolling. I'm saying that every single time. It feels
Too
great.
easy.
Yeah, too easy. All right, so that round just wrapped up. Let's take a look at the picks that we just saw. We'll have Stephania Bell joining us for a couple of quick questions because she gets the first tight end off the board, Sam Laporta. Travis Kelce is still on the board. Then we had a little quarterback run.
Disrespectful to the Swifties, right?
Right? The Swifties are
Trying
feeling
to get some
disrespected
Swiftie
right
points?
now.
I know.
I don't know. You know, maybe they don't have much faith in him. And then Daniel Dopp wrapped up the round by getting one of his favorite Jacksons, Lamar Jackson.
I know. We finally saw the QBs as well start going.
And then you see Brandon Ayuk. We don't know a lot about the
That
news with
situation
him
makes
paying.
me nervous. I know.
Makes me a little nervous. But Yates, you know, he's in the know, and we know that he knows. So let's bring in Stephania Bell, who comes in with a pretty good team. I like where you are, but you went. I only say it because Stephania. We did a little poll on our YouTube chat, and we asked if Sam Laporta will finish as tight end 1. 58% said no, 41% said yes. So it's kind of half and half. So tell us, do you feel like he can finish at tight end 1?
I absolutely do. I mean, he flashed signs of that as a rookie. Rookie tight ends do not usually have success in the NFL, and it became clear right away that he was going to be a playmaker for the Lions. And an offense full of playmakers, he still stood out. He's tough, he's physical. He played through an injury that looked like it was going to cost him the back end of the season. So I like that he's got durability, and there's only room for him to grow in this year. So I think he absolutely could. Look, Travis Kelce is always going to be a threat to be the top tight end, but we saw a little bit of a drop-off from him last year. I still think Travis Kelce might win on volume in terms of receptions, but Sam Laporta knows how to get additional yards after the catch, and I think he'll find the end zone more.
And your first pick was Saquon Barkley. You know I'm from Philadelphia, love the Eagles. He went to Penn State, also went to Penn State. But the one thing about him that I get nervous about is, of course, those injuries. And I know you're so deep into the know of the injuries. Are you concerned at all about that this upcoming season?
I mean, I don't think there's a running back that I'm not concerned about. It's the nature of the position. They're the most vulnerable. They're the only position where every single defender is trying to bring you to the ground on every single play. And then if they're in there on blocking, they're taking additional contact. You know, but he survived a year of injury exposure where he was the focal point of the Giants offense last year, and that was after coming off the ACL injuries. So I think he's savvy now. You know, he knows how to play smart, not take the unnecessary hits, and I think that he is going to be an additional spark in the run-pass game for your Eagles.
Go
All right,
Birds.
Stephania, we really appreciate you stepping out, having a little chat with us. Good luck the rest of the way. Now, Erin, we have Daniel Dopp going up next year. He has Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, Travis Etienne, and Daniel London. We have Travis Kelce still there, DK Metcalf, a couple of other guys. I mean, do we go Travis Kelce here if you're Dopp?
I mean, Stephania made a great point. He did have somewhat of a drop-off last season, but then he turned it on when he needed to. So I wouldn't be surprised if he goes soon.
Yeah, I think it's time to go Travis Kelce, or at least a wide receiver here for Dopp. But it's time to find out. We send it back to the fantasy draft. See you later.
Start looking like, okay, what's the deal with you?
We can't wait for the 55th season of Monday Night Football, September 9th, the 49ers and the Jets, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN, ABC, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus with Peyton and Eli back on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. Coverage begins, of course, Scott Van Pelt and the Monday Night crew at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. We are back, round 5. Daniel Dopp on the clock, our final round with 1 minute per pick. Make it speedy. You're up.
I love that I already have 2 running backs. I'm so glad that I was able to get 2 early because now there's still a bunch of really good wide receivers here. I'm going to take my guy, DK Metcalf.
All right.
He was 4th in the NFL in end zone targets last year. Now he's going to have Ryan Grubb coming over to be the new offensive coordinator. By the way, at Washington, Ryan Grubb's offense was 1st in yards per game, 2nd in points per game, and 2nd in passing yards per game. There's a chance that this Seahawks really get unlocked from a passing perspective underneath him. So give me DK. It's my wide receiver, too.
I'm up next here, and I really don't recall the last time that I was in a draft, mock or real, in which Travis Kelce lasted until pick number 42. So while the ceiling may not be as high this year as it has been over the last half dozen or so years, Travis Kelce in the 5th round feels like a pretty darn good steal.
And honestly, the ceiling might still be high.
It could be, yeah.
He could have another huge season.
Yep.
We were down on him a couple of years ago, and he had maybe the best season of his career.
I don't recall that. I do recall that.
I think you might have been.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I recall that season where he was maybe the most important fantasy piece in the entire landscape of the game, but great pick field.
Yeah. This is the latest, by the way. We did this 35 mock draft project. This is the latest that Kelce, and this was later than Kelce ever went in that. So I feel like I'm getting a value. We'll take it.
Again, I'm going to turn to great offenses that are score a lot of points and hot, nasty speed. Jalen Waddle. Contingent value if Tyreek Hill gets hurt. I
was towing the line tonight, guys. I'm not going to lie to you.
But even on his own, his standalone value is great because we expect the Dolphins to score a lot of points. Waddle's a guy who can see 130, 140 targets because Mike McDaniel funnels targets to his playmakers. He gets the ball to Tyreek, Jalen, Achane, and Mostert. He doesn't mess around like Arthur Smith getting to his 3rd tight end. He gets it to his best playmakers, and that's why Jalen Waddle, I think, has standalone value. And if Tyreek, something happens, boom, he is a wide receiver 1.
Your entire team, the Dolphins, by the way?
Seems like it right now.
Good offenses.
He has the fastest team. That much is for sure.
You're going to be. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, but your team will be great in the fantasy regular season, and the playoffs they'll fold. Just like
I am so happy we have the two of you sitting next to each other this year. It is just great for TV. Mike Clay, you're back on the board.
Okay, I am going to look. I'm not afraid to go 3 running backs. I'll do it all day long.
Yeah.
It's such an important position, and even if a lot of running backs get hurt. So if one of my top 2 guys, Kyren Williams or Rachaad White, misses time, I'm going to throw Ken Walker in there and be happy with that. Like him a lot. When Zach Charbonnet came back from injury around midseason last year, the distribution in snaps was much closer between those two, but Ken Walker absolutely dominated the carries. It was not even close. He's still their feature runner. All offseason reports suggest he's still that guy that they drafted in the 2nd round. So I just love his situation, love the talent. One of the few young, clear lead backs in the NFL. So I want him here.
You and Liz could have a compelling board bet on Kenneth Walker III, and Liz is now back up at pick number 45.
Our bet is on Ramondre Stevenson.
You have that one too, but
yes,
weren't you just saying a little while ago you didn't love Kenneth Walker?
I did,
III?
and I was going to say, Mike, I didn't love him a round ago, but at this value, I was ready to take him. You, however, have made the situation clearer
Field's
for me.
trying to start something, but it's just not happening.
I'm the instigator.
We're not fighting. I, right now, am looking at a running back, and I'm looking at James Conner and Ramondre Stevenson, if I'm being quite honest, and I feel like James Conner gets a bad rap for not being durable because of issues that he had previous in his career. So I'm going to go ahead and take James Conner. And I think he's going to be even more efficient this year with the added pass-catching pieces that Kyler Murray can have. The lane should open up. And you know what? Maybe later, if I was thinking about it, I could add Trey Benson as insurance.
So this is earlier than James Conner went in any of the 35 mocks that we did. But we talked about this last year, which was that, hey, coming into the season, we kept saying he was the most boring RB2 on the entire fantasy football landscape. And that might be the case again this year, but there is some real value in being a solid RB2. Mr. Moody, back on the board.
Yeah, I'm back on the board, so this will be another quick one. I'm kind of glad that Liz did take Josh Allen.
Okay.
I was afraid she may go quarterback here.
Yeah.
And things have kind of fallen for where I'm going Patrick Mahomes here.
Ooh, baby.
Good value in the 5th round.
I've heard of him.
Not a good idea.
Yep.
He's never done anything for anyone.
Yeah, no, people are down on Mahomes after last season, but they have upgraded the roster. Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown. But here's the reality. I'm like, Patrick Mahomes has averaged 23.3 fantasy points per game as a starter in his career. Very happy with him as my QB1. Noah Moody, this one's for you, buddy.
All right.
I was just going to say, last year you told me your son, biggest Patrick Mahomes fan. T-shirt number 2.
He's the favorite to win the MVP, and he's got the highest passing yardage prop at ESPN Bet by more than 200 yards over the next closest quarterback. So the betting markets are expecting a big bounce-back season.
Yes. Great nugget there from Tyler. And back to Anita Marks, pick number 47.
Oh, did I say I don't like drafting at 7?
You did.
How about at 47?
Over under how many times I'm going to say that tonight?
7.
Okay, so I really want to take Mark Andrews. I really, really, really want to take him. But I'm sitting with one running back, and that's this guy right here, Derrick Henry. I'm going with Zamir White. I think this is a Raiders team. Antonio Pierce, new head coach, shout out AP, has already said we need to be committed to the run. I think they're going to be really committed to the run. They don't have an outstanding, again, quarterback. You're going to have to hopefully keep defenses honest. And since Josh Jacobs isn't there, I think he's going to get a ton of volume. So I'm going to go with White.
4 games as the lead back last season, top 20 all 4 weeks. Very consistent, productive. Like it.
Big number upgrade as well. He goes from 35 to 3. I don't think you can overstate how important that is. The aesthetic matters. Schefter, you're on the clock. Pick number 48.
Again, I'm just going to go by the value, right? Like, this guy's sitting there, 34. Like, I'll take Stephon Diggs at 48 when he's supposed to go 34.
It's a great pick there. That's the correct Texans wide receiver to go first off the board.
One of Fields' strongest takes of the offseason.
Yeah.
What?
You've been listening. Well, we just seem to tune each other out on the podcast. Everybody, I believe that Stephon Diggs will lead the Texans in catches and targets this year, and he will have a resurgent debut season in Houston. I am not yet ready to commit to that for 2025, but for 2024, I think it is a prove-it season for Stephon Diggs. I am fully convinced that the last 11 games were much more a signal, like a Tyler Fulghum sign to Mike Clay saying, I want to get out of here. We have run our course together, but I think a strong start is taking place. And oh, by the way, he has CJ Stroud thrown out of the football.
Yeah, my problem is he held that sign up in Minnesota, and then he held it up in Buffalo, and now he has so much
His first year in Houston,
How did it start?
He's going to be great all year, and
but he has more competition for targets there. I mean, it's not like elsewhere.
And that's why he's going 34th as opposed to 8th.
With guys who've developed a rapport with CJ Stroud, like, why is he going to suddenly deviate from Nico?
Why would they trade for him then, right?
Extra. They're a
Because
team that
you're not
wants
paying
more.
CJ Stroud.
They got extra with
That's
Stephon Diggs. That's
a lot
for
to
sure.
pay for extra. So we'll see.
That's fine. Not everything's about money. We'll make a board bet later, Field.
I've got a lot of Stephon Diggs board bets, so yeah, let's keep them coming.
I want to be in on it.
Okay, great. Here we go. We're moving to pick number 49. By the way, 48th is the latest that he went in our 35 mock drafts done over the summer. So good value there for Schefty. D. Woody.
That's good value.
Yeah, I'm not going to mess around. I'm going Devontae Smith.
Yeah, that's another
Right,
value.
Smitty.
I'm going to go Smitty.
You have 2 Colts, but not 2 Eagles now, right? 2 Colts.
2 Colts.
There you go. 2 Colts. Devontae Smith, the Slim Reaper, who just feels like he's good for, 80 catches and 1,000 yards once again this season.
Yeah, we're really seeing the depth at wide receiver here. Just Diggs and Devontae Smith this deep into a draft. It's unreal.
Yeah, we were seeing a ton of wide receivers falling. Is this the latest that Devontae Smith went, or later than any time in that mock draft project? Again, 35 mock drafts with 10 teams. He never went as late as pick number 49. Stephania Bell back on the clock, also known as the Stephon Diggs hater. You're up.
Wow. That's because he took my name and cut it short. I need another running back, and I know Mike's going to hate this pick. I'm quickly falling out of Mike's ranks. And,
Good.
Wow.
This feels like Erin's range.
Okay. Yeah, I know. There's so I do not understand the level of hate for this player, but only because it's leveled unfairly relative to how we look at everybody else, and that's Aaron Jones, who is, I'm taking him late. Mike thinks he's old. He's 28 years old. He's basically
29. All right.
still 28. But basically, he is going to be my RB2, who I got as my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th pick. And he's providing RB1 potential in certain weeks. I mean, he is the #1 guy there. He finished strong, 5 100-yard games on the ground to end his season. He looks fantastic right now. Listen, it's not going to be the same opportunity, I don't believe, in terms of rushing opportunities that he had in Green Bay, but he can catch the ball. He can be a good outlet for Sam Darnold. I like him, even though the rest of you don't.
I mean, he's my third highest rated running back left, so it's not. I'm not gonna lose my mind about that one. I mean, it's fine. I mean, it's fine. He's a mid-range. That would be a different story. I mean, that would be a problem. Yeah, I mean, I'm worried about his ceiling now in Minnesota now. An offense that won't be as good. He's 29 years old. I think Ty Chandler's going to have a bigger role than people realize as a ball carrier. But in this area, he should be, especially early in the season, a fine mid-range RB2.
50 picks in 5 rounds now complete. And still some real talent left on the board. Take a look at some of the best available. DJ Moore, the guy just made $110 million. Plenty of tight ends still available as well. More to come.
Hey, how's it going? Skubie Mageza, Erin, Dolan, Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast. We will keep rocking with you on commercial break here instead of actually giving you commercials. We are the commercial, so let's look back.
The true entertainment, the true advertising.
We just keep it going. Right, so this is the first 5 picks of the last round. DK Metcalf, Travis Kelce finally ended up going. I thought Dopp would go for Kelce, but he went for Metcalf, which I still liked. And then we had a little running back go over there, but
I like the James Conner one.
Yes, James Conner, always a solid back, keeping things going. And then Patrick Mahomes ended up at pick number 46.
He's the MVP favorite for what it's worth still.
Yes, MVP favorite, Stephon Diggs. Houston wide receiver, that stacked wide receiver room. Nico Collins went before Diggs, but he's still a baller. Diggs is still a baller. And then Zamir White, you like him a lot.
Yeah, he's 20 to 1 in rushing yards.
All right, so we bring Damien Woody into the show now. Damien, appreciate you joining us, brother.
Yeah.
I hope you're having fun out on that draft. And as I look at your team right now, there's no quarterback, but you are stacked at wide receiver. You are stacked at running back. Right now, what is your strategy? Do you plan on going quarterback fishing next round, or are you going to wait and kind of just stack up your wide receiver and running back depth?
I am eyeing a particular quarterback. It might surprise some people, but
come on, drop some tea to us, man. We'll be here on commercial. Let us know, brother.
Hey, man, listen, I'm looking at that quarterback out in the desert.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at him.
All right.
I'm peeping that out right now. I haven't made a decision yet, but I'm thinking I might go that direction.
Yeah, you got C.J. Stroud, Burrow, and Dak Prescott ahead of him, so you actually might be able to get that.
Now, of course, you took Jamar Chase, number 1. I have been high on Jamar Chase for this upcoming season just because I think he actually could end up being offensive player.
Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Erin, your mic is all messed up, so I got you.
Hello?
I'll take over Erin's question right here. So she wanted to ask you about.
They wanted to cut me off.
She wanted to ask you about Jamar Chase, right? Are you at all concerned with the contract issues and him, kind of holding out right now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it does bother me a little bit. I'm a little nervous about it, but when Jamar Chase is on the field with Joe Burrow, it's just magic. So I think it's in the Bengals' best interest, and I think they'll get it figured out in order for Jamar Chase to get out there on the field. And when he's out there, I mean, I was picking number 9. I'll take Jamar Chase all day, every day.
I'm liking that, especially from a betting perspective. Don't know if you can hear me, but that's what
Not
I
we can hear you.
You hear me?
To go.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so good luck as you try to find that guy out in the desert over there. And then do you plan on going at tight end? Any thoughts on that position that you want to aim for on a guy?
Not yet. I think I'm going to wait a little bit on the tight end position. A couple guys I have in mind. I'm not going to, Schefter's really been kind of eavesdropping on everything that I'm doing, so I'm holding off on that right now. But yeah, don't worry, that's coming.
Hey, really.
You don't want anybody leaking anything. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, Erin knows that better than anybody else. All right, good luck in the rest of the way, man. Hopefully you get your guys and we get to talk to you soon again to see how your team played out. All right, so he's gonna go for that guy in the desert, meaning Kyler Murray. For those that
That's
didn't get it.
That's a spicy pick for me. I don't know if I like that one too much.
Well, what's up with Kyler Murray for you? Why don't you like that
I mean,
pick?
he's dealt with injury, obviously, but I don't know if he's going to necessarily ball out like some of the other guys. But of course, it's whoever's left on the board. I mean, some of the other guys already went. So.
Yeah, exactly. And
gotta take who you can get.
It's tough because he missed so much, but he has Marvin Harrison Jr., that great rookie wide receiver. So we'll see how that goes when we send it back to Field Yates and the crew for the draft. See you later.
Welcome back to Sports Center Special. Fantasy Football Draft, presented by ESPN Bet.
ESPN Fantasy Football is the #1 fantasy game, and with the season right around the corner, sign up now and get your league started at ESPN.com/fantasyfootball.
Welcome to the Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast. Skubie, Mageza, and Erin, Dolan here. We still got plenty left, plenty to talk about. We're going to have Field Yates join us. And there's a couple of things to think about when it comes down to towards offensive player or MVP. And Erin, a player that is on Field Yates' roster that we're going to talk about is Bijan Robinson. How good do you feel about him, especially with the odds as it comes down to offensive player of the year or anything else related with the MVP?
I mean, I expect him to have a big season, but in terms of going on and winning MVP, no. Offensive player of the year, it's a little dicey for me. I'd still rather go with a guy like Jamar Chase. Again, I think I'll have a great year, but it comes down to how that offense is going to operate under Kirk Cousins. So
yeah,
to keep in mind.
You think that Kirk Cousins is an upgrade at that position, so things should operate smoother. And then Field ended up going with Travis Kelce. The tight end run came up pretty fast right out of the gate. And the thing about Travis Kelce is that the value of the position, people were reaching for him early on. But he still is Travis Kelce. He still got the Swifties.
Yeah.
He's still got Patrick Mahomes.
Yes. Just because the Swifties love him and we all love the Swifties and whatnot doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be able to have the most production on the field. He is coming towards, I want to say, the end of his career. I just feel like this is a guy that turns it on the postseason. That we're worried about the regular season right now. So we saw some wonky games between him and Patrick Mahomes last season. That doesn't mean it's going to repeat by any means, but just something to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, and
anytime touchdown each week is always a good one for him, though.
Yeah, and just for context, the tight end position this year is stacked. The depth is probably more than we've seen in recent years. And we now bring in Field Yates, and I'm going to go ahead and let you cook on this one because I know you had something to ask about Travis Kelce.
So with Travis Kelce, do you expect him to have another big season?
I do, Erin. I'll say this, is even if it's not as big as it has been over the past 6 seasons, at least up until last year, I got him at pick number 42. A year ago, you were seeing Travis Kelce come off the board as high as pick 5 or pick 6. So while there is a lot more depth at tight end this year, it wouldn't surprise me if we see a cluster of tight ends come off the board over the next 10 or 12 or 15 picks. So yes, I paid a touch of a premium on Travis Kelce as the second tight end off the board, but it's not the premium you were paying in prior years. So I feel very great about getting Travis Kelce at the top of the 5th round.
Yeah, and that's something that I heard you guys say a lot on Fantasy Focus on just the premium of Travis Kelce. It's not that he's completely downgraded, but the field had caught up with him, and Sam Laporta went first over him, and I'm sure like some people didn't expect that. But as you look at the QB position, you haven't picked one up yet, Field. What are we doing over there? What are we thinking? What's the strategy?
Yeah, I'm not worried about the quarterback spot as of yet because there's such good depth. It's a 10-team league. I'd be surprised if anybody takes 2 quarterbacks in this year's draft. I'll probably laugh at them if they do that because I feel like there are at least 13 starting level quarterbacks that I feel great about going into week 1. So with a handful off the board, still plenty of options for me. My patience, I do believe, will pay off.
All right, Field, we're looking forward to seeing how that all pans out. Appreciate you for spending some time with us. So
must be hard to have to stare at Mike Clay and Tyler like that in his position.
Those are the guys that he's with quite a bit, I'll tell you that. And I'm looking at Field's roster as well. Brandon Ayuk, you can't feel good about that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's certain guys I don't know how that situation's going to pan out.
Like, you feel good about the talent, but there is something to be said about missing training camp and then having to join a new team or be with his team now. Hopefully that change won't mess him up too much. Yeah, so we got Daniel Dopp. He's going to be joining us later on, Bell is up next, and then Woody. So we'll see where Stephania Bell goes with her pick, and Woody as well. He said he wants to go to quarterback. Peace. We'll see you soon.
We are back here on the Fantasy Draft presented by our friends over at ESPN Bet. 5 rounds in, many more to go. Take a look at round 5, and some notable picks include Travis Kelce going 42nd overall. Who'd have thunk it? Plus 4 wide receivers, 4 running backs, and a quarterback. The best player on the planet, Patrick Mahomes, goes at pick 46. As we get started in round 6, we have Stephania Bell back on the clock. America's favorite drafter. Who are you taking?
Well, that's a good question. I should have been thinking about this.
Squander your
always
time.
that one drafter. You know what? Why not? Why not just take a quarterback just because?
Maybe a stack, Stephania? with
Maybe
one
a
of the other guys?
stack. Maybe a stack with the best receiver on his team.
Oh, that's a question.
How about C.J. Stroud?
All right. C.J. Stroud goes off the board at pick number 51. We are picking up the pace with our picks, which means it's time for Damien Woody to make his next selection.
Quarterback, we're thinking alike here. I'm going Kyler Murray.
Kyler, I like that.
I like it.
Kyler Murray.
I like it. It's made Tyler angry. I'm on board with it.
That's the criteria of how Mike judges his picks. Good to know going forward here. Shefty, you are on the clock. I don't believe you have a quarterback as of yet. You do?
I drafted Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, he had the draft to the first quarterback.
My bad. Brain fart.
He got a T-shirt.
We heard Stephania stack players.
Yeah.
I'm also going to stack.
Ooh.
But in a different kind of way.
Okay.
I'm going to be stacking at the running back position, and I now have the Lions backfield to the envy of David. Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery.
Okay.
Every Lions rushing touchdown will be mine.
And there's going to be a lot of them this year, Adam Schefter.
Craig Reynolds not accounted for yet. Shefty's backfield. Pride of Kutztown University.
That's right.
All right, moving along to Anita Marks, pick number 54. We're starting to get to the point of the draft where you might not have a T-shirt for that player.
Dang.
I don't have a T-shirt for this player. It's at home. But I can't pass up on Mark Andrews.
There you go. You were thinking about him last round, and
Exactly.
you get him a full round later.
Exactly. And the fact that he just fell to me yet again, I'm stoked.
Okay. Mark Andrews, he is off the board.
Mark Andrews shirt.
No.
It's at home. How many closets do you have?
So I had to literally buy 2 because it's not just football shirts. I've got baseball shirts, basketball shirts.
You are well equipped. Yeah.
So I literally had to buy 2 more dressers to fit.
Just to fit t-shirts.
I probably have over 500 at this point.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is voluminous. Moving along here to pick number 55, Eric Moody, 55 on the board.
You know, I really wanted Mark Andrews there.
What the heck?
Oh, see?
Once you said that, I was sniped, but it's important to always have contingency plans, and of course I have one. So I'm going to go with Dalton Kincaid here.
Ooh, I like it.
Dalton Kincaid.
Number 1 Bills pass catcher.
Once you know, I packed that one.
Wow. Noah Moody
So
is going
let's
to be
talk
happy.
briefly about Dalton Kincaid. So here's the stat I want to give you. 14.1 fantasy points from week 7 through 12 when Dawson Knox was out. So I'm looking at Kincaid as essentially the Bills' number 1 target. So I know that was going to upset you, Liz. I know, but I had to do it. I've got to get an A+ from Mike Clay. So got to make it 2 years in a row.
Aiming for perfection. Liz Loza.
I think, I'm sorry, really quick. I think you could say the same thing for Mark Andrews. I'm curious, Mike, what tight end do you like better?
Andrews by quite a bit. I mean, look, Kincaid has the upside, but Andrews, we've seen it year after year after year. The guy was so good even last season, and I know there's talk about Isaiah Likely playing more. That's not going to affect Andrews. He's still going to have his huge target share, which I believe is highest in the NFL last season, and they're not strong at the wide receiver position, so he's going to be great. He just gets the job done.
Yeah. You know how to let people down really quickly. You know that? You went back to back. Okay, you are a harsh grader.
Do you want just the cherry on the top, the ice cream, or do you want real?
I think it's a cake.
I want the cherry on top of the ice cream.
I think it's a cake, right?
No, I can't do it.
Sure. Liz Loza, you're now up.
Yeah, that was a riveting conversation. However, wow, you all have forgotten that Drake London is still on this board. I've listened to all of you talk for months about what a breakout he's finally going to have.
He is not.
No,
I have Drake London.
Well, that's okay As Eric Moody pointed out in that brilliant conversation, contingency plans, and your girl does, and his name is DJ Moore.
Chicago girl.
All right,
You know what?
confirmed.
That was not demur. That's what.
But it was a little cute.
right?
It was a little cute.
Drake London off the board, as is DJ Moore now. It's an incredible value at pick number 56. Mike Clay, you are back up on the board, my friend.
All right, so no quarterback or tight end, but I love the depth at both positions, so I'm just going to keep stocking up elsewhere. And I am going to go with, well, I'm going to change my mind right while I'm looking at this. I'm going to go Ramondre Stevenson. I'm thinking about somebody else. I'm going to go Ramondre Stevenson. Just keep adding running back depth. He's been awesome. They just extended his contract during the offseason. The guy has money. Antonio Gibson's the number 2 there. We know he is a change of pace back. He'll be involved in passing situations, but Stevenson is the man in New England.
Tyler Fulghum, you are up next on the clock. Ramondre, by the way, had a decent season last year after that breakout year back in 2022.
You know, we were talking about Jamar Chase earlier, and he kind of fell in this draft. What if he misses some games?
Dang it.
Okay.
T. Higgins might benefit from that, might he? So I'll take T. Higgins right here. I started with a couple of running backs early. Now I'm stocking up on wide receivers here, and I think T. Higgins has that standalone value as a wide receiver 2, that upside as a wide receiver 1 with Joe Burrow looking healthy coming into the season. They're going to throw the football in Cincinnati. That's going to be one of the highest teams in terms of pass rate over expectation this year. So I'll take T. Higgins. That's a guy who's a 1,000-yard receiver, but his best year may be in store this season.
All right, T. Higgins goes off the board. Great pick right there by Tyler. He has been having a red-hot camp of late, has T. Higgins. I think it was a great pick. I'm on the clock here, pick number 59, and we're always looking for players to take a big step forward from year 1 to year 2. So, Zay Flowers, welcome to the
I was one away from a stack.
My apologies, Daniel Dopp. I regret nothing. Zay Flowers, who was great last season. Now, we have not really seen this true alpha wide receiver 1 with Lamar Jackson as the starting quarterback in Baltimore. You could also make the case that we haven't seen a player of Zay Flowers' caliber who, despite the fact he's a smaller guy, really impacts the game down the field as well. Give me some Zay Flowers, pick number 59. Daniel, you are on the clock.
All right, this one's easy for me.
Okay.
Because I'm really pumped about this guy. Trey McBride was absolutely unreal down the stretch, weeks 10 through 18. 3rd in targets and receiving yards, 2nd in receptions. He had a 25.5% target share once Kyler Murray came back and was under center. I know that's going to drop now that Marvin Harrison Jr. is there, but what about this crazy idea that with Marvin Harrison Jr., things actually get easier for Trey McBride in this offense? So for me, grabbing this tight end here in the 6th round, love this.
Final pick of the 6th round, more, no less. Trey McBride, who was terrific down the stretch last season. So tight end run is starting to pick up just a little bit here with 3 in this round. Still some notable names at that spot to be drafted in the very distant future, as we are now 6 rounds into our fantasy-focused mock draft. Daniel Dopp right back on the clock when we return.
The Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast continues. No commercials. You got us, Erin, Dolan, Skubie, Mageza. We're going to go over the last round that just went down, and then Eric Moody will be joining us to answer a couple of questions because we just asked you guys in the YouTube chat what you think about his team. We went with C.J. Stroud first from Stephania Bell, and then Woody went with Kyler Murray as he told us.
Yep.
Right, and then Schefter, double stacking Lions players?
Kind of random. Yeah, he's always double stacking them. Also, like, has Dopp gotten any Lions players yet? I don't think he has.
No.
The man who's like the biggest Lions fan ever hasn't gotten one person. I do like C.J. Stroud going, though.
Yeah, if you took a look
About
at
time.
Dopp's face, he looked very uncomfortable.
Distraught.
Yeah, when his Lions
Should have just
players
taken
were
that at number 1, gotten it out of the way.
DJ Moore, I feel like he fell a little bit. So great value there for Loza. I saw some people in the YouTube chat saying that her team is stacked. She's kind of made up some ground these last couple of rounds. And then we close out with Zay Flowers and Trey McBride. So some
We're all
value
over the place.
there.
Wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, quarterbacks. Everybody's trying to get crafty now.
Yeah, we now bring in Eric Moody. And Moody, thank you for kicking it with us, brother. We did a little poll in our YouTube chat, and we asked everybody to grade your team, A, B, and C. And 44% said they give you a B, 35% an A, 19% a C. So A, B, and C. What would you grade your team right now in the draft?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it right now. You know, I would say my biggest concern is really at the running back position. You know, with having Joe Mixon, you know, as he's older, and also Alvin Kamara that's there, but they have been very productive. I feel like I have players who can lead their position on a week-to-week basis. You know, I got Patrick Mahomes. You know, he has the potential to finish as the top fantasy quarterback week in and week out. And I feel good about those receivers, too, with Amon-Ra St. Brown and also with A.J. Brown. And then getting a guy like Dalton Kincaid, you know, I saw Dopp get Trey McBride, who I did consider in that round, but I really feel that Dalton Kincaid is going to finish with the most targets on the Buffalo Bills. So to bring all that together, I do feel great about the team. I'm curious to see who I'm going to land in the flex spot, though.
Well, the YouTube channel was also saying that he had one of the best teams. And you're
Yep.
right in the middle of the pack. So do you feel like that's actually ending up helping you? Because you're able to grab two of those great wide receivers and also a guy like Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, no, I think what's going to be very intriguing, Erin, going into some of these later rounds is really to see the type of depth that I can get, like at running back. Like, I'm perfectly fine going to battle each week with Joe Mixon and also with Alvin Kamara if I have some viable backups with upside behind them. So it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the draft go, but I really feel good right now about the team, so we'll see what happens.
All right, Eric, really appreciate you. Go enjoy the rest of the draft. Draft a good team, and we'll see how it all shapes out. And Erin, I think you made a great point. Getting to pick in the middle, it kind of just sets the decision for you. And then you're like, all right, I'll just pick up this player because right now this is
No
what the value
pressure, and
is.
then just some of those guys that are just like lingering right there, you can just grab. Whereas if you're Daniel Dopp, not to call him out, but he had the first pick, that's great, and you grab CMC, and then you got to wait some time. So being right there, you get some depth.
Yeah, definitely.
middle
Right
of the
now, he's stacked pretty much at every position. He has nobody on his bench. We got Dopp drafting next, and then Yates. There's plenty of value left on the board. Calvin Ridley, Tank Dell, George Pickens, Jonathan Brooks. This is where you win your draft, right here in the middle round. So let's see who our experts pick as we send it back to Field Yates and the crew.
Wow. Tyler Fulghum with some fighting words about Mike Clay right out of the gates. But is it true? The answer, apparently, is no. And we have picture evidence. Mike Clay, that big nerd on the right with the glasses,
Look at that.
likes puppies. Care to explain a lot of things in that picture?
Well, that's me and my little brother, and that's our dog Chip that I grew up with, and that's my pool.
Fake news then, Tyler.
Yeah,
That's a full-grown dog. That's not a puppy.
Those are also Coke bottle glasses right there from Mike Clay.
Like
Bring those back.
Yeah, bring them back. All right. I mean, look, I just needed some evidence. Thanks to my mom for sending that. Just evidence that Adam doesn't have her number, by the way. Just you can't trust Tyler. That's the message here.
So good. All right, we are back on the clock here in round 7. Rolling along. Daniel Dopp on the clock once again. Yourself, what do you have?
I'm looking for my flex position here, Field Yates, and I think I'm going to go with the other really good Texans wide receiver. I know there's 3 of them, but Tank Dell was unbelievable as a rookie. 6 games with 17 or more fantasy points, in spite of the fact that he only played 11 games in the season. I'm going to grab him as my wide receiver 3, and I think there's a ton of upside because of that. No, I don't have to rely on him as a wide receiver 2.
We're going to be furious when John Mechie scores like 8 touchdowns.
I am going to lose my mind when that happens.
Is a good
I mean, happy
player.
for him, but not happy for our fantasy team.
If you think that I am above taking a player with the sole intent of boosting my grade from Mike Clay at the end of this mock draft, you've been gravely mistaken.
Oh, no, don't do this.
Calvin Ridley coming off the board here at pick number 62 for me, so I am deciding. I'm just going to build the depth out on the bench a little bit rather than attacking the final starting position in my lineup, which is quarterback. And Calvin Ridley, Mike has reminded us many a times that he led the NFL in end zone targets last year. The Titans certainly paid this guy like somebody they expect to feature a ton this season in what should be, as Mike also likes to remind us, a very pass-heavy offense under Brian Callahan.
Yeah, they're going to throw it a lot. And by the way, he had 25 end zone targets. Nobody else had more than 20, so it was not even close. Just dominated that category.
Tyler Fulghum, back on the clock.
All right, a little lesson for our viewers out there.
Wait.
Sometimes
I'm told something very interesting. You and Mike Clay are the only 2 drafters that have not touched quarterback or tight end.
this is true.
Wow.
And this was part.
You?
Were you trying to reach out and touch me? No, my last pick, I was between wide receiver and tight end.
Yeah.
And play your room when you draft.
Right.
I knew that only Dopp and Field were picking between that pick and my next pick.
Yeah.
You already had a tight end, so you weren't going to take
double-dipping.
one. And I had 2 tight ends I like, Trey McBride and Kyle Pitts. He took McBride. That leaves me with Kyle Pitts, the guy I wanted most coming out of this draft. I'll take the Atlanta tight end. Gone are the days of Arthur Smith. Now is a new, real offense with Zach Robinson. Pitts can go back to being a 1,000-yard pass catcher as the second option in this Kirk Cousins-led attack.
Who do you think? Smith is getting destroyed on the show.
Yes, he should.
Let's hope he's not watching tonight.
He probably is.
Real life, good coach. Fantasy, bad coach.
Well said.
Quick question for you. Who do you think led the NFL in terms of lowest off-target percentage last season?
It was probably Kyle Pitts.
It was Kirk Cousins. No. Quarterbacks. In a good way.
Desmond Ritter.
No. Lowest off-target percentage.
Okay, now I see what you're saying.
Kirk Cousins.
One of the most accurate quarterbacks is Kirk
Yes,
Cousins.
now goes down to Atlanta. A significant quarterback upgrade. It is okay, Mike Clay, you're on the clock.
All right, I'm going to follow your lead, actually.
Okay.
I'm going to take a tight end as well. I don't know if this guy's going to come
Smart
back
man,
around
you're
to me.
learning.
He's one of my favorite values in drafts this season, Evan Ingram, down in Jacksonville, top 5 tight end each of the past 2 seasons. And let's see if you all pay attention to me on the Fantasy Focus podcast. How many, not tight ends, how many players had more catches than Evan Ingram last season?
None.
3. 4.
Daniel got it. 3 players had more catches in the entire NFL.
But he doesn't
CeeDee
find-
Lamb, Tyreek Hill,
CeeDee Lamb,
Amon-Ra
and Amon-Ra
St.
But he doesn't find the end zone. That doesn't
That's
concern
right.
you?
One tight end had more than 6 touchdowns last year. Sam Laporta. That's it. I mean, if he scores 3 or 4, you know, that's a difference of what, 12 points from 6 touchdowns. I mean, he's going to catch so many passes. 114, was it? 114 last year?
I think it was
116 more than any other tight end.
116 last year. I'm the
The
numbers
guy's
guy
unreal.
around
That's
here,
2 years in a row
obviously.
he's done.
Yeah.
Also, you said to throw out everything that we knew about the Falcons' offense from before. So the idea that he didn't score touchdowns the last 2 years, hopefully under Zach Robinson.
This is Evan Ingram, but I hear.
I'm so sorry that we're
Yes.
talking about Kyle Pitts still.
Yes.
He makes a great point about my pick.
He does, though, on Kyle Pitts, yes. He's more of an international guy as Kyle Pitts as it pertains to the touchdowns. He had one back in London a few years ago. Loza on the clock.
All right, so my queue is getting a little bit slimmer, but I think, Field, yours might now because I'm going to go with Devontae Williams.
Devontae.
It's a fascinating pick.
Comeback season, baby.
It sure is. I'm convinced, Liz. Sell me on it, though.
Well,
Not that I need to be.
As Stephania often says, there's a difference between return to sport and return to prior level of performance.
Yeah.
And I think Devontae Williams, now removed from the knee injury that he suffered in 2022, will go back to his tackle-breaking ways. There's some concern about the distribution of touches in the Denver backfield, but I think Williams is still going to be good for about 15 at least touches per week, and I will take that at a better, at higher efficiency this season.
He was 15th in the NFL in touches last season. Just a reminder, the reason why I have mentioned Devontae Williams so much is that on current ESPN ADP data, he's going 43 picks later than this. 43. I mean, he's going as RB 30 for a guy who I think could be a top 15 touch leader once again.
Backs. They cook.
All right, we are leaning into the second half of round 7. Eric Moody back on the clock.
Yeah, it looks like when you look at the wide receiver position, number 1 receivers of offenses, it's looking thin out there. So I'm going to go with Amari Cooper here.
Cooper's loose.
Very, I would say, consistently undervalued, like in drafts. He's had 100 or more targets in 5 consecutive seasons, and also in 5 games that he did play with Deshaun Watson last year, ended up averaging 17.6 fantasy points per game. So I feel great about having Cooper in the flex.
Okay, there you go. Amari Cooper, pick number 66. Anita Marks, pick number 67.
So I really don't like picking at 7.
That's 3.
So as Eric just pointed out, like very few number 1 wide receivers still on the board. I love Pickens, even though I still don't know who's going to be quarterbacking, who's going to be throwing him the ball. No, I'm not.
Oh.
I'm going to take Jonathan Brooks, running back for Carolina. I know he's not. I know he's allegedly not going to start for the first few weeks. But man, if anybody loves college football and was able to see this dude play and run at Texas, just unbelievable. So, give me Brooks.
Bold, but love the talent.
Yeah.
At some point, he can, might take a month or so, but once he gets rolling, could be a league winner.
It's a play you make for the playoffs. You know, you're not trying to win your league in September. You want to win it in December and January.
That's a good point. That's stacked like Anita's is.
You can put him right on the IR spot, too, and grab someone directly after the draft, right off the waiver wire for what it's worth.
There we go. All right, next up here is Adam Schefter, pick number 68.
I like to follow the money.
Okay.
In the draft.
Yep.
And in the offseason, the Chicago Bears paid DeAndre Swift a lot of money.
Sure did.
So if they're going to pay him a lot of money and invest in him, then I've got no problem using pick 68 to invest in him.
All right.
We'll stash him in the backfield at 68. And
Love it. Yeah, they're taking it easy on him in the preseason, too. You're seeing a lot of Khalil Herbert out there. That tells me, come week 1, DeAndre Swift show.
Unleashed.
Yeah, it's been interesting. People have been noting how the Bears have been leaning heavily into Khalil Herbert and 2 wide receivers on the field as opposed to 3. I have a spider sense that the Bears are not going to have just 2 wide receivers on the field when you have Rome Odunze sitting there in the garage. All right, pick number 69, Damien Woody, officially on the clock.
Boy, I feel like I'm in a conundrum here.
Will it be the first
That's what
offensive
fancy
line?
football is.
You don't need both.
First offensive line.
Could it be?
Trent Williams.
I feel like going out there.
Go out there.
Brian Thomas.
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
That is going out
That's
there.
your guy.
Brian Thomas.
So he steps into the Calvin Ridley role where, again, we led the NFL at 25 end zone targets last season.
You like him, huh?
I like him. I like Brian Thomas. I think just everything that I've heard down in Jacksonville, this guy's been almost unstoppable. I think he's going to be a big part of that passing game down in Jacksonville.
17 touchdowns last year at LSU, the best second-level accelerator in the draft. I mean, what a ridiculous wide receiver group that was down there for Jaden Daniels. That's a very Tyler Fulghum pick there, if I say so myself, by Damien Woody.
Home.
That's right.
Trevor Lawrence is a former #1 overall pick. If he has his best season, there's going to be some beneficiaries in that wide receiver room.
Stephania Bell, next up on the board here to round out round number 7.
Yeah, this is one of those unsexy picks, but I love, the consistency of the player. I just think he's a solid all-around player.
Chris Godwin.
Per sources.
Yep.
Per sources. Yeah, nice pick right there by Schefter guessing Stephania's pick, and Chris Godwin, who last year just got perhaps unlucky in the touchdown department. Mike Clay, of course, the founder of OTD, Opportunity for Touchdowns, and he really did not meet the expected mark.
He will double his total this year. The 3, he'll have at least 6 this year.
All right, there you have it, right there from Mike Clay. One of those, by the way, was a rushing touchdown last season.
That's right, yeah.
Did you have a stat there?
Yeah, just something real quick. I'm like looking at Clay's projections. I'm like he has Mike Evans projected for 130 targets, then Chris Godwin projected for 124. So I'm like, you're essentially getting the same player. Yeah. So great pick, Stephania.
Much later.
All right, the reason Evans goes earlier is because all those end zone targets. That's a big difference. Like he will pile up the touchdowns, not as many for Godwin, but still, I think that it'll be up. It'll be higher this year.
As steady as it comes is Mike Evans. All right, take a look at how many teams have been drafted already. 1.45 million drafted teams. Let's push to 1.5 million soon, people. More to come here on the other side.
You're watching SportsCenter Special Fantasy Football Draft, presented by ESPN Bet.
Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast keeps going on. Skubie, Mageza, Erin, Dolan. Round 8 just wrapped up. Round 7 just wrapped up. We're going into round 8 and round 9. Some interesting picks there. Still some good quarterbacks on the board. We're getting Clay to come here and answer a couple of questions for us, as he is also quarterback less. But here's how it went out straight off the top. Dopp went with Tank Dell. We had a little bit of a wide receiver run, and then Kyle Pitts and Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, great year last year. Led the league with tight ends.
We're getting
and
into the
catches.
unsexy picks, to be honest. Just like
much.
Stephania Bell was saying. No, I was liking a lot of these picks, so I mean, they're eventually going to have to come off the board. Some of them very surprising. Brian Thomas
yeah, I was
for
just
one.
going to say, Brian Thomas
Jr.
Jr.
What's going on with that?
Yeah, and then Chris Godwin. I was looking in the YouTube chat how some of y'all said Bell always surprises, and she seems to, but hey,
Got a good last name to surprise.
ringing the bell for sure. But she won the chip last year, so she definitely knows what she's doing. We're having Mike Clay join us now, and Mike, I've been looking at your roster, bro. I like what you're going on there, and you are RBU right now. And I got to ask, because sometimes I do this strategy in my leagues where I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stack up on running backs, because when you look at it later on down the season, guess where everyone's going to come for when they need a running back?
That's right.
It is you. So tell us about your strategy and how you see it shaping up with no quarterback at this moment.
Look, wide receiver is becoming the more popular position in fantasy football, so don't be afraid to zig when they zag and load up on the talented running backs, because to your point, there's not as many of them out there, and we know they get hurt at a higher rate than other positions, but if you take 3 or 4 of them, you're always going to have 2 really good players for those 2 running back slots. So I'm not let them take all the sexy new young receivers and tight ends. I will take the sure-handed running backs, get them in my lineup, and feel good every single week.
So my desk is not too far from Mike Clay's. We're like a couple down.
Yeah, I see you taping TikToks and all that.
Yeah,
I've seen you over there.
I gotta do my TikToks. Not wrong. Mike Clay has studied all summer while I was doing TikToks. So how are you feeling about your draft overall compared to people like, Tyler?
Well, it's the best that ever was. I mean, it just nailed every pick. Nothing to be concerned. Now, look, at the top, I wanted one of those top 3 running backs, but having to, again, as I said during the draft, settle on CeeDee Lamb. I mean, the top receiver by far in fantasy was so good last year. I'm fine with that. And again, I took Lamb early and then loaded up on running back. So, like my team, Tyler, he just comes out here and reaches on ridiculous players for no reason. And look, once in a while,
doing TikToks too.
Someone's going to hit. It's going to look good, but the rest are going to bust, and he's going to end up finishing 6th.
Clay, I'm really interested to see when and who you go with at the quarterback position. So
yeah,
we're
it's
just
coming
going to
soon.
keep watching.
Coming soon.
All right. Good luck for the rest of the draft,
tease
man.
there.
Yeah,
Mike
right.
Clay is so funny. That
bit of a
man
tease.
grinds and looks at numbers all day. I kid you not. I watch him.
I mean, you
As
do
I'm doing
too.
my TikToks.
Aaron literally looks at numbers all day.
No,
as well.
I do.
But we just
But
got a
Mike
great
Clay is
class
the
of
machine.
people. Literally. So he's got no quarterback. He has 4 running backs. So let's see what Mike Clay ends up doing. Bell is going to be up next. And as you guys said in the YouTube chat, she always surprises.
Yeah,
so let's see what she
forward
does.
to it.
As the top players left there are George Pickens, Keenan Allen, Jalen Warren. We got a lot of good wide receivers left. Back to Field Yates and the crew.
No, didn't it?
We are back here. Take a look at the best available players on Mike Clay's big board. That includes a couple of Steelers and a couple of Commanders. Thanks to our friends over at ESPN Bet for powering this Fantasy Football Marathon mock draft. And we are officially into round number 8. And Stephania Bell back on the clock.
I think somebody else said it, just trying to stack players and build my bench depth. And so I'm going to go with another wide receiver here who I like. Would you say players who play on good offenses with
Makes
good
sense.
quarterbacks?
Juwan Jennings.
Give me
Niner.
No, I knew it. No, I just told Kevin Pulsifer I was going to take him.
Except you're not. She writes. I couldn't even get it out. But I'm sure a lot of people have questions about the Rasheed Rice situation. And
Hold on, I just want to say something too. Calm down. You're 10 picks away.
You were going to take him, Adam. You were going to take him. He's so far down Mike Clay's cheat sheet. You might as well call it not a cheat sheet at this point.
He's like the fourth highest receiver. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but you guys are bad at drafting, so I knew he was going to get back to me. Come on.
Well, we talked about this a couple of days ago on Fantasy Focus. I said, we're 17 days away. And we need to be prepared for the possibility that Rasheed Rice is not punished during this season. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I think it's possible. Maybe it's later, Adam. I don't know if you've heard comparable things to what I have.
Investigation is still ongoing. So the NFL is not going to do anything until the investigation's wrapped up. We don't know what the investigation is going to show. We don't know yet. So there's a lot of questions now. And until those questions are answered, he's going to keep playing.
And at the risk of sounding crass, this player's available. This is a guy who last year ended up as a top 10 wide receiver in our weekly rankings for like the last 5 or 6 weeks of the season. Getting him in the 8th round would represent, in fantasy football purposes, Stephania.
And the combination of Hollywood Brown being injured, and we're not really sure when he makes it back.
I think he's ranked and being drafted appropriately. There it is. Though,
the take's so good you couldn't even spit it out.
That's right. Look, last year they were super conservative, the lowest average depth to throw ever for Patrick Mahomes. They're going to go back down the field. There's a reason his prop is so high. We know they're going to get more vertical this season with Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown.
He'd have been a second or 3rd round pick if this legal issue was not hanging over him. If we knew he was going into the season without that, I think that's one of the better picks we've seen so far today.
I totally agree.
All right, D. Woody back on the clock here as we are into round 8.
Poor Woody.
Tyler, you talked about you like going with great offenses.
I mean, it's, I think, a good fantasy strategy.
It's not bad, right? It's not bad. I'm going to go Raheem Mostert.
All right.
Mike Clay touchdowns last year.
Mike Clay might just kick you off the show the rest of the way here.
He's
32?
32-year-old.
32, which is how many touchdowns he might score this season. After 21 last year.
I don't know if he'll score 10.
First Pro Bowl last year, he set a franchise record in terms of touchdowns in a single season by a running back last year.
I think the good part is this. Regression's about to hit. obviously.
Yes.
But he's not being drafted in the first 20 picks, right? You're getting him at pick number 72. The potential payoff for Raheem Mostert is very much in line with a player that you would be taking at this point in your draft. Schefter, back up.
Here's a guy that last year had over 130 targets. We're going to build out the wide receiver depth. The offense should be even better this year. We're going to go with Terry McLaurin.
Okay.
Yeah. Finally has a good quarterback.
Thank you.
How happy must he? And he might have the best football character of any player in the NFL. He would never say a bad thing about anybody publicly, but inside he must be screaming about how happy he is to finally have a rock star quarterback.
That's interesting.
Yeah, you look at what he was able to do, though. I'm like, without having a quarterback play. Only 1 of 5 players with 70 or more receptions and 1,000 receiving yards in each of the last 4 seasons. Guy's a stud.
He should have been playing for Atlanta the last couple of years, right?
Seriously. Yeah.
Sick.
Yeah. Anita, you're up.
So I'm going to take this player, but I don't want Liz Loza to think that I'm going to take it because she just showed me. I want you to see, look, he's at the top of my queue.
That's okay. I believe you. I believe
He's
you.
at the top of my queue. Listen, I love you, Liz. Like, I swear he's on the top of my queue. Jalen Warren.
Jalen Waddle.
Warren.
No,
Warren is who you're taking.
I got Waddle
I know.
already.
That's what we
Waddle, Waddle's gone.
I know.
Okay.
I'm not going to do it twice, guys. I'm not going to do it twice.
Listen, I felt this way last year. I think Warren's a better running back than Najee. And I was surprised. I was expecting bigger and better from Warren last year. I think this is the year that prophecy comes true.
And is he on your bench right now? He's a depth of the running back, or no? Because he, of course, currently nursing a hamstring injury.
No.
He's available.
Him and Jonathan Brooks are on my bench.
You got a type.
You're padding your depth. Injured running backs. What could possibly go wrong?
I got a type.
I do have a type.
We all have a past.
Thanks for noticing.
All right.
It's so demure.
All right, I'll make this quick field. So I'm going with Tyjae Spears here.
Okay.
So I'm happy to get Spears as my third running back here.
Yep.
I'm excited to see what he does with this Tennessee Titans team in a committee with Tony Pollard. He's great as a receiver out of the backfield. So he's one of those players I feel like can exceed expectations this year.
Okay, it'll be fascinating. It's really hard to decide which running back to plant your flag on in this Titans backfield. They kind of profile similarly in a lot of ways, too.
Take shots on ambiguous backfields. You know, if you get the right guy, that could end up being a winner.
Miami proved it last year. All right, moving along to Liz Loza on the clock here.
I am 100% confident that this player is still available. He is a tight end who, the stat everyone likes to use is that he managed 7 games of single-digit fantasy points. He is still a star on, as Tyler likes to point out, a lit offense, and he did lead all tight ends with over 1,000 receiving yards. I am taking George Kittle at this point as my starting tight end, and I will deal with the boom-bust nature of the 49ers.
And you get a T-shirt.
Oh, double T-shirt, double blanket.
How many of us have not yet received a T-shirt?
I have 0 T-shirts.
1, 2, 3, 4 of us.
Mike, you can have mine, Anthony Richardson. If you like.
Mike Clay back on the board, by the way. You're up.
All right, let's go. I am going to I'm gonna trust you, Arthur Smith. Get this guy the football.
You've just been ripping this dude all show. Now you're saying.
I mean, I actually.
But a pick 77 is not bad,
The smartest
right?
thing Tyler said so far is Arthur Smith is a good coordinator. He just not the best for fantasy. However, Drake London was still, a wide receiver 3 last year. I'm drafting my wide receiver 3 here, or 4, 3 or 4. Anyway, it's on my bench. I suspect that they will have better quarterback play in Pittsburgh than they had in Atlanta the last couple of years. Arthur Smith's offenses had some bigger, better, we'll say, fantasy years with Ryan Tannehill and Matt Ryan. So at least there's some hope here for George Pickens.
All right, speaking of Arthur Smith, why don't I draft his other running back, Najee Harris?
Right there, yep.
I'm going to take him because this team might run the ball 550, 600 times this season, and that means at least 200, 250 opportunities for Najee Harris. He'll be the goal line back, so the touchdowns are probably mostly coming from him. And, of course, if something happens to a Jalen Warren, the contingent upside of him getting the workhorse role. So I don't know if the offense is going to be good. I do know they're going to run the football probably more than any other team in the National Football League.
Talked about him on EBL yesterday. 75-1 to lead the NFL in rushing yards, and Arthur Smith offense is something else. So.
60-1 to lead the NFL in rushing touchdowns as well.
Ooh, interesting right there. The pickings are starting to get slim if you are looking for a running back who's probably going to lead his team in touches and maybe by a lot. So I will take Brian Robinson Jr.
I like that, one of my
picking number
favorites.
79. He and Austin Eckler are going to split some work in that Commanders backfield, but B-Rob, I think, is a very good bet to be the most productive player in that backfield for fantasy purposes and a better pass-catching back than people probably realized going into last season. Daniel Dopp, you are up.
This hurts me as a Lions fan to do this because I don't even have any Lions on my own fantasy team right now, but I've had one wide receiver that has been my guy all offseason. And it's Jaden Reed. I got to take him here because I love him. 15 or more fantasy points in 7 of his final 8 games. He was wide receiver 10 over that stretch. I know that Christian Watson can be the guy as well, but I would rather have the guy that doesn't have soft tissue injury history. So give me Jaden Reed here as my wide receiver.
Nice.
You spend too much time with Stephania Bell. Soft tissue.
There's no such thing as too much time with Stephania Bell before draft season.
Soft tissue, not just injury, soft tissue.
That's right.
All right. 80 picks down, 8 full rounds, and there are still some heavy hitting names available on the board. Take a look at those. Joe Burrow included. How long will he have to wait to get picked? Dak not too far behind as well.
Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast continues with Skubie, Mageza, and Erin, Dolan. Liz Loza will be joining us real soon. I'm going to remind her, because I've been keeping an eye on that YouTube chat, that you guys love her team so far. So let's take a look at what it's looking like in round 8. The picks that were made. Rashee Rice going early to Bell. I said some people will be surprised with Stephania Bell's picks. But, I mean, he was a wide receiver 1 for the Chiefs last year. So
he was. I mean, the Raheem
off.
Mostert, I mean, he kind of fell down the board comparative to some of the odds for some of the futures markets, for sure.
Yeah, and then Liz ended up grabbing George Kittle, which we will talk to her about. But great value right here. When you just talk about the middle of the draft, just another reminder to everybody who's planning on drafting soon. It's really about rounds 5 to 8 where you really begin to draft some of the best guys. So now we bring in Liz Loza to chat with us for a little bit. Thank you, Liz, for taking the time. And I was just saying the YouTube chat is really excited about your team right now.
Okay.
So with the players that you have on the board, who are you the most excited when you talk about value, where you got them, and position?
Well, I think George Kittle this late is a fantastic value. Obviously, his production as a 49er, because of the number of mouths there are to feed in that electric offense, is a bit boomer bust. But again, he did lead all tight ends with over 1,000 receiving yards last year. And so this late, how can you not want a star like Kittle on your squad?
Liz, not even trying to get brownie points, I actually like your roster the most right now. And I know you made a great joke off the top to get everybody going. You made the cougar joke, and then you picked the cheetah.
Puma, Erin, Puma.
Puma was after the cougar, so I had to mention it. But do you have a good fantasy name, or would you potentially be the Puma?
Oh, I could be the Puma of production.
Oh, there you go. Love that.
We're loving the fantasy
Crafty,
name.
creative. She could do it all. She
Yeah.
did fantasy and come up with that.
Puma of Production. That
like
is
that.
Liz's name. And right now, it's looking like the Puma of Production is going to win it with the way that your roster is looking. So thank you, Liz, for spending some time with us, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks, guys.
So her team looking good. Josh Allen, Pacheco,
My favorite
Connor,
person on
Hill.
that, not to cut you off, is going to be the Williams pick.
The
Javonte Williams, yeah. I mean, that's a huge one. I think he can have a big season in terms of being obviously on Denver's roster. What's going to happen to that team?
Yeah,
Probably
and
not much.
he dealt with some health issues, and it usually takes a guys a little bit more than a year to get right. Still a young back, and playing that running back position, age really is a factor. And I think the fact that he's youthful will help him play a lot
Youthful
better.
and on a pretty bad offensive line. So that's when you want to look at the running back.
So
That's why I like Zamir White so much. Even though Gardner Minshew went out and Adams, it's still sometimes you got to lean on the run game, pound the ball.
So you brought up running backs. Tajee Spears is already gone. We have Tony Pollard still on the clock. Austin Eckler, Zach Moss, Daniel Dopp will be going next. His team is looking good, and we'll see where he goes because he's going to go for depth. He's got all positions filled. So let's see what Field Yates of the crew is going to pick next.
We can't wait for the 55th season of Monday Night Football, September 9th. The 49ers and the Jets, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific on ESPN, ABC, ESPN Deportes, and ESPN Plus with Peyton and Eli back on ESPN2 and ESPN Plus. Coverage begins with Scott Van Pelt and the Monday Night Countdown crew at 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. All right, people, we're going to draft 3 more rounds. We're into the 9th. Daniel Dopp, you are up.
Gonna go with another wide receiver here, Yates, guy on a new team, maybe a second-year jump from the quarterback position. I'm gonna take wide receiver 1 of the Carolina Panthers, Deontay Johnson.
I like it.
I like it right there.
Breaking my heart, Dopp. Breaking my heart.
Breaking Eric Moody's heart, and you feel zero remorse for it
I feel no
whatsoever
remorse.
because you, my friend, are that kind of cold. All right, moving along here. I am one of just a few teams that is not yet taking a quarterback. I think that there are going to be 0 teams that draft 2 quarterbacks in tonight's draft. That being said, I could probably wait a little bit longer. I'm taking Dak Prescott, who finished his quarterback 3 last season. When Dak Prescott stays healthy and on the field, he is going to be a fantasy football juggernaut. It would not surprise me if he once again throws for close to 4,500 passing yards with 30-plus passing touchdowns, and he contributes a bit with his legs. You're up, Fulghum. Also no quarterback.
Yeah, also no quarterback. I am going to roll the dice and wait a little bit, build out more of my running back room. Again, attack ambiguous backfields. Tyjae Spears went before this guy, but Tony Pollard could end up being the lead back in Tennessee. He's the one who got paid. And last year, I thought Pollard was going to be one of those league-winning upside type of backs. It didn't work out, but he is, again, another year removed from his significant knee injury. Maybe he's healthier this year in an offense that should be playing from behind a lot, and he can catch passes out of the backfield.
3 years, $24 million for Tony Pollard. Mike Clay, you're up. I have a feeling I know where you're going.
Well, a little concerning that Tyler and I have a similar strategy here near the turn, but I'm going to go back to the wide receiver well here. And now that my starting lineup's filled out, I could go for a little bit more upside. I'm going to look for a guy that can make a big leap and break out. He's a first-round pick last season. Jackson Smith and Jigba in Seattle. Everything's looking good in the preseason, and when I expect him to be at least the number 2 receiver for them this year. But could he lead that team in targets? Would not shock me at all.
Liz Loza up next at pick number 84.
Oh, I am torn between upside and floor here, but I think I am going to go with some floor. And I am going to draft Christian Kirk.
Ooh, wow.
He's
Return the favor to Anita right there. Well done.
All right. Well, we're gonna go with that then, babe. You okay? We're friends.
Let me see your cue.
Okay. I don't have one, which is why I don't know who's been drafted.
Eric Moody is up next. What are you thinking?
Oh, got a few sweat beads for me.
He's scrambling.
Yeah, because Loza, took Christian Kirk
It's
there.
about time.
Yeah, I know. So she got me on this one though. So I'm just gonna go with my gut here. I'm gonna go with Christian Watson.
Mike Clay loves that one.
Yeah, because as Dopp was mentioning with Jaden Reed, a lot of receivers on Green Bay. Jordan Love's a great quarterback. We saw that last year, and so I see Christian Watson having a bounce-back season. I think he'll be a lot healthier this season too. So
Daniel doesn't draft guys who have different length hamstrings.
Exactly true.
So he's off Daniel Dopp's board, but now on Eric Moody's team. Anita Marks, you're up next. Yeah, that sounded very excited.
Love that 7 spot.
Did you know you hate drafting from the 7th spot?
I was not going to say it again.
You said it in a way.
No. Daniel said it.
He said it all.
You know what? Give me Keenan Allen.
Okay. So disappointed. Wide receiver 4 last year.
I was going to say, Keenan Allen had 150 targets in 13 games last year. What a shame in the 9th round. Nice pick right there. That's great. Schefter, you're up next. Have you taken a quarterback yet?
Oh, he got the first one.
That one was sorry. The first one was a mistake. The second one was a joke.
Mike Clay's mom tipped me off about her, and he now has the T-shirt as proof of that. Receipts.
Mrs. Clay.
We're going to go for some upside here, and we're going to go with Rome Odunze.
Dang it!
All right.
Schefter,
So wait a minute.
That was
hold
worse
on
than
now. I like the Keenan Allen thing. It's a great pick.
Okay, but I didn't get that reaction.
You know why? Because we like shiny new toys, and I thought there was no chance that Keenan Allen would make it back to me. Rome Odunze is exceptional. I just don't think you can keep that kid off the field on a basically full-time basis for much of this season. That's how good he is. I know they went 9th in the NFL draft. Someone had to be the 3rd of those 3 great receivers. Any other year, Rome Odunze might be a top 5 pick. You're an unbelievable player.
You know a lot more about rookies this year. What happened?
I started reading your draft guide more religiously.
That's what it was. That's
So just out of curiosity, if you were me, would you have taken Odunze before?
I don't know. I don't have a big issue taking Keenan Allen over Rome Odunze.
No, I'm just
saying,
curious.
I thought there was zero chance that Keenan Allen would get back to me. I thought Rome Odunze might get back to me.
Okay.
I can see Allen starting the year as the number 2 receiver, and by the end of the year, it's flipped where
got an
Odunze
embarrassment
is
of
the number
riches.
2.
Why don't
Vibes,
you just plan for a trade?
vibes are high right
Good
now.
thing I have Adam's phone number.
Vibes are high right now. D. Woody, back on the clock.
Big sigh. Yeah.
I just got blown down.
I'm going to go David Njoku.
Love it, the Chief.
He's not one of your guys, right?
Yeah, one of my guys. Maybe I think arguably the best Browns player once Nick Chubb went down on offense last season.
He was awesome.
Final pick of round number 9. Stephania Bell is on the clock, and I promise you what we have in store after Stephania's pick, you will enjoy.
Because you won't enjoy my pick.
I didn't say that.
This is the part of the draft I don't like. I don't like because there's a lot of people. There's a lot of ways I want to go, and I know we're supposed to be speeding it up, and I'm stuck because I am like the rest of America, where you get stuck in the draft. You don't know what you're going to do. But I'm going to take somebody who I think has upside maybe later in the season. We will see what happens. Blake Corum. Adam.
All
right.
Yeah, from Liz. All right, so Stephania, it seemed right there, was maybe getting a little bit of like Ajida before she made her pick. But nobody, and I repeat, nobody has been under more stress trying to make selections tonight than our guy, Damien Woody. All right, that brings us to Damien Woody at number 9, the heartbroken Damien Woody with no Garrett Wilson available for the taking, but some really interesting options. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I am crushed.
Damien Woody picked number 29. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
His next selection.
You shouldn't be this stressed out in fantasy.
Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast, Erin, Dolan, Skubie, Mageza. We will have Adam Schefter joining us in just a minute.
Big name.
The insider, the guy that keeps the lights on at ESPN. But first, let's look over in what just happened in the last round. And they start off with Daniel Dopp going with Deontay Johnson. He's on a new team. A little bit of a revamped offense out in Carolina as they try to get Bryce Young more weapons. This should help early for him in his second year.
Yeah, hopefully it does. I mean, can the Panthers get much worse than they were last year? But yeah, a bunch of guys coming off the board there too from Chicago.
Yeah.
Allen back-to-back with Odunze.
Odunze and Allen. It's kind of a toss-up there because there was a rumors of all this weight that Keenan Allen put on during the offseason, and Rome Odunze has really got a good
Look,
chemistry
it's a rookie
going.
quarterback. No matter what anybody says, it's a rookie quarterback.
Right? And so
I'm one of those people, like, yes. I mean, we just saw what C.J. Stroud did, so it's a hard argument to make right now, but
Did any of what you saw from Caleb Williams in the preseason give you any more faith in what he could do?
Well, everyone looks good in the preseason. Come on.
Very good point. We now bring in Adam Schefter into the show. Adam, really appreciate you taking the time. And, I'm looking at your roster right here, and we asked the chat in YouTube what they would rate your team from A, B to C. They gave you a B, Adam. I don't know if you like that grade or not. What do you give your team a grade from A, B to C?
Well, I guess my question is, where's the downgrade? How come it's not an A?
I think it's because maybe...
They have some questions to be answered.
Yeah. Well, I'll start off with this because Erin has a specific question. You don't have a tight end right now. What is your strategy with that position?
Do you think I not have a plan? The two teams that are picking next right in front of me have both taken tight ends. Jake Ferguson, who was a touchdown monster last year in the red zone, is sitting right there. And I'll let you know the secret. I think that's going to be my next pick. So there's your tight end.
There we go.
Little tease there. Are you a fan of the Lions, or are you just trying to get back at Dopp, just out of curiosity?
Both.
Double whammy?
We believe in Detroit, and anytime you can torment Daniel Dopp, it's always a good day.
Very fair point.
Now, The Houston Texans wide receiver core is so stacked. And I saw you pick up Stephon Diggs. How confident do you feel in him being the #1 guy there? Because Nico Collins went so much more earlier than Diggs.
Well, I said on the show last night that I think that Nico Collins will be their #1 guy. But Nico Collins went about 20 in our draft, and I took Stephon Diggs at 48. The value at 48 for a player who in other years has been a first-round draft pick, I believe, is high. That's why when he's there at 48, you take Stephon Diggs. He may be the #2 target in Houston. Maybe he's the #3 behind Nico Collins and Tank Dell. But the fact of the matter is Stephon Diggs is going to get his share of the footballs. He's going to shine, and he's going to elevate my draft grade from a B to an A.
We love to hear that. Hey, good luck on getting Jake Ferguson. We didn't hear it from you, but our YouTube chat definitely did. So Adam is feeling good about his team.
Nico Collins, the one thing that makes me excited about having both of them is I like C.J. Stroud to potentially win MVP. And I think that's just only going to bolster him. His numbers are going to go up, 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 up. I do like C.J. Stroud MVP.
And
just
does Vegas like C.J. Stroud?
Yes, in fact, it's one of the most bet on players to win it, which makes me a little worrisome because I hate going with what the public is liking. But at the same time, I think he has a really good case to make it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Just with the year that he had and all the talent that has now been brought in to help C.J. Stroud, it should be a great year for him. Stephania Bell is up next. Back to Field Yates and the crew.
Welcome back to Sports Center Special. Fantasy Football Draft, presented by ESPN Bet.
Both now, right?
All right, back here on the Fantasy Football Draft, mock draft. Anita Marks is crushing this draft right now. These are your reactions on X. Joel Ruffin 3 playing to the Anita Marks crowd. Your thoughts? Gotta make you feel good, right?
Yeah.
Mick 3, Mikey K calls it. Wow, this is a great tweet. Calling it now. Yates wins the league.
That is not my burner.
Couldn't agree more. Next tweet comes from Linder. Dopp wrecking these suckers.
Yeah, appreciate this, Linder.
What else is new? Daniel Dopp crushing a mock draft. A lot of fun so far here on the draft as we are entering into round 10. Stephania Bell back on the clock.
Again. With the boring part of the draft. So I'm really struggling here because there are a couple players I'm interested in, but their situations are unsure. So this is super boring, but I'm going to go with Josh Palmer. Because, he's a really good quarterback there who is going to be dealing with a foot injury that he's coming back from, but I believe with every fiber of my being that he will play right through it.
Okay.
And who's going to be the #1 receiver? I like Ladd McConkey, but I think still has a ways to go to, really prove himself there. And Josh Palmer is the #1.
Okay. Schefter's influence showing out as Josh Palmer has started to gain some traction over the past 24 hours.
Hold on, let me do some. Okay, the next pick.
See if that helps. Damien Moody now on the board.
I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton.
Okay, all right.
I'm going to go there.
How's he still? He's
Bo
doing
Nix in the preseason.
I think Bo Nix. It's going to be something cooking.
Try that shirt on right now.
I could get this on my bicep probably. Good luck with this.
Let me tell you, I love that pick.
Yeah.
I love that pick. Michael Westhoff, very, very dear friend, probably my favorite human on the planet, said that Sutton is a baller.
Yep.
And with Bo and that offense with Sean Payton, I like that pick a lot, Damien.
A massive end zone target share last season in Denver. Really underrated football player. All right.
Sure is.
Next up here is Schefter.
Well, Field, I still have a hole at the tight end spot.
Yeah,
this would represent a value pick as well, a guy that was on per sources last season. We were pleased with him last year. We'll be pleased to have him this year. Dallas tight end Jake Ferguson.
Yep, he is right around that borderline of tight ends, and he could have a huge target share this season as perhaps the #2 passing game target behind CeeDee Lamb, right?
So does everyone have one now? Everyone has one tight end? Or did someone take two?
Everybody has two.
Okay. Everyone has one. Because we feel comfortable with like 10 guys this year.
Correct.
So you can wait at tight end or wait and still come away with Ferguson. It's such a good plan to wait this year.
We're going to talk about Mike Clay having pictures of himself on this pen.
Well, my kids are on there, too. This my aunt got me this. My daughters and me on there. I mean, yeah, why not? Carry them around with me, of course.
Anita Marks back on the clock. You like your pick?
I'm going to steal a page out of Stephania's book, and not a sexy pick. I don't have a T-shirt for him, but it's.
Can't take him then.
Upset.
Yeah, really. It's Devin Singletary.
Okay.
Listen, he's the starting running back in the backfield. I think they're going to have to establish a run to help Daniel Jones. And let's not forget, you've got Joe Shane and Brian Dable, who were in Buffalo when he got drafted. So now they bring him to New York. They want to give him a new lease on life. So I just think it's a wise pick right now. Not a sexy pick, Stephania. Not a demure pick, but a safe pick.
A reshaped offensive line in New York as well after they ranked 31st in run block win rate last season. All right, moving along to Eric Moody.
Yeah, I think everyone who participated in the mock draft project know where I'm going here. Chase Brown.
Yeah, your guy.
Yeah. I've rostered him in 60% of those drafts that we did for the project. I think his upside is huge this year. He has the potential to be a league winner if given more opportunities.
I like it. They love to throw the ball. He's the pass-catching back, and we just assumed Zach Moss would be their primary back. Who came out with the ones? Chase Brown did. Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to watch that battle. But if he's even the 1A, that's such a good situation.
As a brilliant philosopher often says, chase ambiguous backfields. That's Tyler Fulghum. You didn't agree with that assessment.
Yeah.
Okay, Liz,
I see what you did there. It took me a second to get the joke, but I got there.
It wasn't a joke. It was a statement of fact.
I appreciate that everyone is talking about how boring these players are, because boring also means high floor, veteran options, which is what we all promised would be at this portion of the draft. But there is a player who I think, I know he can flash incredible speed. His comp was Hollywood Brown, and he happens to be on a team with Hollywood Brown, who's got some durability issues. So I will take my second Kansas City Chief of the evening, one Xavier Worthy, please.
Right. There you go. Xavier Worthy, who has been playing plenty with Patrick Mahomes this preseason. Of course, that 4.21 40 for Xavier Worthy was good enough for the Chiefs to move up from 32 to 28 in the first round of the NFL draft. Michael Clay.
Yeah, interesting one here. I still need my quarterback, and you all know I love, and I love my daughters, but I can't take Jordan Love. I'm going to take Joe Burrow because he's still on the board. Love Joe Burrow. QB4 2 seasons ago. Last year didn't really run the ball as much because he wasn't fully healthy. But after that slow start to the season was QB4 again. He was rolling there for 5 weeks without doing much with his legs and still did a terrific job. So if he adds even a little more with his legs this year and continues to throw well, he should have another terrific season. So I'll take Burrow as my quarterback, especially this late. What are we in, round 10?
We're in round 10. Fulghum, next up.
I'm the only one left without a quarterback, and so that means I'm going to wait till my next pick because I don't think I'm going to get sniped. I am going to draft from a great offense and a guy we've been waiting to break out. I think this is the year. Sorry, Dopp.
You better freaking
Jameson
not.
Williams is on my team.
Why?
Jameson Williams is on my team. Josh Reynolds is gone. Jared Goff is playing a lot of games indoors. They need Jameson Williams to step up, and the fact that they didn't bring in any other competition makes me think they believe this year he does it.
What's the point of this?
Waymo for JMO.
Waymo for JMO from Tyler Fulghum. This thing happens when you're doing these drafts. At some point, you see a player, and you're like, why is that guy still sitting there available in the queue? And while I don't know whether he'll play in week 1, I don't need him to, as I am now cornering the market on Titans wide receivers DeAndre Hopkins, who had 8 games last year with 9+ targets. Yes, it was up and down, but whether he or Calvin Ridley emerges as their best wideout, I've got them both, so I've got some security there. Dopper, last pick of round 10.
Yeah.
Jake Bates, he's still out there.
I know. I'm saving that.
Wow.
I'll tell you what. I understand that we may take a minute to be able to get this guy worked into the offense, but it's one of the guys that Mike has been talking about. You want to grab someone late that potentially has upside in a really good offense. Why not give me the rookie Keon Coleman here as an upside wide receiver?
He's no Khalil Shakir, but not a bad pick right there.
Not a bad pick.
He might be that one in week 1. And he's super young, maybe a little raw, but they need a number 1, and might be him right away.
We have 100 picks in the book. We have one more round that we'll do on TV, and there is still some talent on the board. Take a look at some of the best available. Zach Moss, Hollywood Brown, Zeke, Jordan Addison, and Liz's guy, Austin Eckler.
The Fantasy Football Marathon continues. We are here with you the entire night until the draft, not the mock draft. The draft is completely over. Skubie, Mageza, Erin, Dolan. Now let's take a look at what just happened in round 10. We started off with Joshua Palmer, and Schefter got Jake Ferguson as he wanted. But once again, this is where you get value, Erin.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting into the weeds of it. We're in the 90s at this point. I'm glad Schefter was able to get who he wanted because, I mean, at this point, it's not like everybody wants the same pick at this point. So this is where you really get creative and, again, can find some of that value like you had mentioned.
Yeah, and we're going to have Daniel Dopp joining us in just a second. And there he is, Dopp. What's going on? It's good to have you back here, just chatting it up with us. And we were just talking during the break of sometimes when you're in a fantasy draft and a player gets swiped from you, it can infuriate you. Yeah. It can enrage you. And Schefter said it tickles him to take Lions players from you. So tell us how it feels to have your player get swiped in a draft and how you kind of react from it.
It hurts. It's like getting your heart ripped out, Skubie. Are you kidding me? My Lions just got good. This is like the first time in 5 years that you can actually draft Detroit Lions in fantasy football and feel confident about it. And now all these other jokers are like, oh, hey, I'm a Lions fan. I want to jump on this bandwagon too. It sucks.
You're so emotional, spoken like a true fantasy player. I feel like with betting, when you're about to lose something or win something, you're just going crazy. Is it the same with fantasy? Are people on the couches just going crazy? Or are you personally going crazy?
Screaming on the couch in silent rage. Silent rage depends on what's happening. If the puppies are sleeping, you got to be quiet. But yeah, I'm on my feet. I'm walking around the couch. There's no way that my butt is glued to those cushions. My legs got to move when something like this happens because it's just, what are you going to do? Your body's like, what is going on? You got to express yourself.
That's fun.
Dopp, we are here at the moment in the draft.
That's right.
They're going to rob your players from you. If you don't get Jake Bates next, I don't know if you're going to get Jake Bates. So when do we pull the trigger?
I don't know how many rounds deep we're going to go in this one, but I promise you, if we're going to go deep enough to get a kicker, I'm going to grab it before anyone else gets a chance. Jake Bates is going to be my guy. I swear. I swear it.
All right. You swear. I'm going to hold you to that. Good luck the rest of the way, Dopp.
Thanks.
So, Jake Bates, once again, UFL kicker. I did the UFL show with Daniel Dopp. He played for the Detroit team in the UFL. He hit 360-yard field goals in 8 games, and he has had a tremendous preseason.
So,
Dopp is. Say what?
You have a jersey yet?
Dopp created his own Jake Bates jersey. He literally taped Bates on the back and had a Jake Bates jersey. So if anybody else takes him from him,
true fan,
expect an explosion. And I kind of want that to happen.
I mean, I'm all for the entertainment. Is that what we're here for?
Yeah,
Sports and entertainment?
Yeah, exactly. And
giving it back and forth to each other. It's a prime example of what it's like being actually drafting with your friends.
Yeah, right? And they're all friends over there. And we're so deep in this draft at this point that you can literally go any single way. So Dopp is drafted next. Let's see who he goes with as we send it back to Field Yates and the squad.
Look at that, nearly 1.5 million. If I speak slowly enough, we will cross 1.5 million plus teams drafted here during the ESPN Fantasy Football Marathon. Don't miss out on the action. Join us and be part of the fun as we reach round 11 of our Fantasy Football Marathon mock draft. Thanks to our friends over at ESPN Bet for powering this mock draft. Daniel Dopp, you are back on the clock. Your last televised pick, so make a count.
Last televised pick, I'm going to go with a guy who was running back 3 in the 5 games that he was the starter of the offense. And that guy's name is Zach Moss, now out of Indy in Cincinnati. I understand all the things that are going on with Chase Brown. It's an ambiguous backfield, but it's a good offense, Tyler. So why not grab a guy that we've seen be good in fantasy already? 4 games, over 17 fantasy points last year when he was the starter. I like him as just a guy you can throw a dart throw at. Plus, I got 2 great running backs already. This guy's just depth for my team.
Okay, there you have it. We are the last pick for everybody on the televised portion of the show. I have decent running back depth, but I am going to take the player that might end up being the Cowboys' lead back, and it may not be super efficient. It may not be that much volume in the passing game, but it could be 10 rushing touchdowns because this offensive line looks excellent once again after being remade this offseason. So, Zeke, welcome back to Dallas and welcome to the fantasy squad, Tyler Fulghum.
Zeke could be a really good pick just because the Cowboys can't quit Zeke, so he could get a lot of action. I need a quarterback, and since I missed out on the top 5, the guy I said if I did not get one of the top 5, I'm going to draft because of his upside running the football is rookie Jaden Daniels.
Like it. You are the all upside team.
I mean, Daniels has a prop of 500 rushing yards at ESPN bet.
Wow.
So this is a guy who could get you 600-700 rushing yards.
And a
I'm not
t-shirt.
fitting in this. But I want a running back who can do both, run and throw. And Daniels is the last guy.
Find you a man that can do both, Mike Clay.
I was this close to getting a T-shirt. That's where I was going to go. I was going to take him. That's your guy? That was your guy? That close.
Guy. Yep.
All right, so I'm going to look, I do love Jordan Love, and I'm not going to go quarterback. I was just thinking Daniels because of the high ceiling, right? He could be top 5 for sure. So I'm going to go back and throw a dart at the wide receiver position and go with Ladd McConkey, who I think will quickly emerge as the number 1 for the Chargers. Might not happen in week 1 or 2, but pretty quickly he will become that guy. So we're in dart throwing territory. I'm going upside.
Like the pick. Liz Loza, back on the clock.
I was actually thinking about Jaden Daniels, but that is not a possibility. That's all right, sweetheart. I'm gonna stick with the team, and maybe I am biased, but I think Austin Eckler is gonna have a comeback. He is not gonna get the volume that he did get in Los Angeles, but he is healthy, and he is still one of the most elite pass-catching running backs. By the way, reuniting with Anthony Lynn this season. So please give me one, Austin Eckler.
There you have it, Eric Moody. Pick number 106. 5 picks left on the TV portion of the show.
I'm laughing because I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, this does look kind of boring here. But, you know, as a Saints fan, I'm just going to go with Rashid Shaheed.
Okay. Nice.
I think he's in a position to get more targets. No Michael Thomas. So at this stage of the draft, why not?
Rashid Shaheed.
He's not boring.
He is not boring. I love him.
Anita Marks.
I'm considering my second quarterback at Caleb Williams, but
Really?
I'm not going to go there though. I'm going to go Gus Edwards, who goes for the Ravens to the Chargers.
That phone came down hard over here, Anita. Just so you know.
There's another big sigh.
That offensive
over
lineman
my
hates to
left
see a
eye.
power back go off the board.
Coming in as their lead back, we know Harbaugh. He wants to run the football. Very committed to running the football.
Yeah.
And there's, I'm trying to think who their offensive coordinator is.
Greg Roman.
Greg Roman, yeah.
Who's got a lot of familiarity with Gus Edwards as well.
Gus Bus takes his talents to your team.
Sorry.
Shefty, back on the clock.
You got me with that one.
Shefty.
That hurt.
You know, I wouldn't ordinarily plan to do this, but Jordan Love is still sitting there. Like, why not take him? Like, I'll take him, and I'll have a backup in case Anthony Richardson something happens. I got Jordan Love now.
Love it.
That's interesting that you would get insurance for the best quarterback in fantasy football. Anthony Richardson. Potential trade chip, though, from Jordan Love. Damien Woody, your final pick.
I'm going to go. I couldn't help myself. I was thinking about not doing it, but I couldn't help myself. I'm going to go Jordan Addison.
Okay, there you go.
I'm going to go Jordan
Thought about it.
They had a heck of a rookie season last year, and this is the part of your bench where you don't need this guy to be ready for week 1. He had that ankle issue in camp. Man, everybody in Minnesota is getting hurt. 10 size is what they're telling me. The graphic, you can't see it, D. Woody, but your side count is now up to 10. Oh, man, that is classic right there. Stephania Bell with our final pick. No, we've heard better person to end our televised portion of the draft with than Stephania Bell. A reminder, though, draft grades coming up very soon.
Yeah. I know. It's hard, tempting. I wanted to go Brandon Aubrey, too, but I'm not going to do it. But if you told me you could get a starting running back at this late in the draft, would you believe it?
Jerome Ford?
I might be talking about Jerome Ford. Cleveland Browns just, I think, flying under the radar. A lot of attention on Nick Chubb and Willie or Woney and Wynn. And I think Jerome Ford is just quietly going to be the starting running back for the Cleveland Browns.
There you have it, Jerome Ford, who, again, Nick Chubb, very uncertain to return in the early portion of the season. How about that? Take a look at the draft board, by the way. Here are the players taken in round 11. Interesting names there, and a couple of the quarterbacks being taken late. Coming up, we got draft grades and so much more ahead here on the Fantasy Football Marathon.
Fantasy Football Draft Simulcast. Skubie, Mageza, Erin, Dolan. We just wrapped up round 11.
Look at how many this is at this point.
And yeah, shout out to everybody that keeps creating a team. I have yet to draft with my fantasy football team yet. Erin, you know,
you can tell me in the break what you have to do is the punishment. You don't have to say it on TV.
Our league, your punishment is you get egged. If you come up in last place.
Oh no.
So this is the selection. Zach Moss starts it off with Dopp and Ezekiel Elliott with Yates. And then, like I said, this is where the volume comes. I like Tyler's pickup with Jaden Daniels this late. He really waited for a quarterback, and it's okay to go that way because there's still some value at the position because Schefter ended up getting Jordan Love at pick 108. We now bring in Tyler Fulghum. There we go. Tyler, what's going on, brother? People are liking your team right now, so I got to ask you, how are you liking your team at this moment?
I love my team. Like I said, I wasn't able to get one of those top 5 quarterbacks, but I land a QB in Jaden Daniels who has the ceiling of those top 5 quarterbacks because of his upside running the football. But I got a lot of players I targeted: Kyle Pitts, Devon Achane, Cooper Kupp. I'm really happy with what we got.
And Tyler, I mean, as someone who's known you for quite some time, again, I know we brought you in at the beginning of the show, and I had said we were on the same show, ESPN Bet Live. I know you got some good fantasy name cooked up.
Oh, man. On the spot, but I got to do some. I might have to call myself Adam Schefter's stepson after the jokes he was making about my mom and my Nana. So that's on the table. I'll try to cook up something that makes fun or pokes fun at Mike Clay. There's some wordplay there, but I still have time.
I thought you were just going to go with the cook or something because you're always trying to be the chef.
I do have that in my back pocket as well. Was a contestant on Guy's Grocery Game. So, Erin, you've given me a homework assignment here. Before kickoff, I better come up with a good name.
Listen, you better have a good name because your team is stacked. I'm just going through it right now with Achane, Kupp, Waddle, a lot of speed.
Yes.
Which position are you the happiest with in terms of your depth?
Yeah, I think it's running back. To get Breece Hall, one of the top 3. Achane, I think, could be a guy who finishes as RB 1, 2, or 3 if things break his way. I got Najee Harris and Tony Pollard as depth on the bench. Pollard's in an ambiguous backfield. He could emerge. And the Steelers may run the ball more than any team in the NFL, so there's a good floor with Najee Harris. So I think I'm happiest with running back. And in our setup where it's 2 running back, 2 wide receiver in your starting lineup, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I was calling Mike Clay's team RBU, and yours might be challenging him for that title of RBU as well. Good luck the rest of the way. Thanks for chatting with us.
Thanks, guys.
And Erin, yeah, it's shaping up to be quite the interesting draft where we only got about 3 more rounds left. I don't know who you think. It felt
long for these guys. I'm not gonna lie.
Which one is your favorite so far? Which team have you seen that you're like, okay, Liz?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think she did a really, really good job on her team.
Yeah.
In fact, we could pull it back up. I would go through all of them, but I know that looking as we've gone through each person so far, yes, Liz.
Yeah, I'll just go through it right now. She has Josh Allen, Pacheco, Connor, Tyreek Hill, Neighbors, Kittle,
She's got,
Moore.
enough
Yeah.
depth there.
Yeah, a lot of people in the chat are also liking Daniel Dobbs' team. So great value out there at this point of the draft. We'll see what they get. Back to Field Yates and the crew.
You're watching Sports Center Special Fantasy Football Draft, presented by ESPN Bet.
And ESPN Fantasy Football is the #1 fantasy game with the season right around the corner. Sign up now and get your league started at ESPN.com/fantasyfootball.
Fantasy Football Draft Marathon, Skubie Mageza, Erin Dolan. No commercials. You got us, and we're just going to keep the vibes rolling.
No infomercials for you guys.
No infomercials
Just
at
us.
all. We're going to have Anita Marks joining us in just a bit. She has all the shirts and all the drip for everybody
It's
on the show.
unbelievable. I don't even want to know what her closet looks like, although I feel like maybe we next year should ask for a picture.
Yeah.
She's got to have thousands of shirts.
Literally, she was saying earlier on the Simulcast that she ordered 2 more closets or drawers to be able to put those
It's
shirts
insane.
in. We bring in the shirt master.
Who's on it right now?
Right? Who we got on the shirt?
Derrick Henry.
Derrick, see, that's a new one. You had to get the Derrick Henry in the Baltimore Ravens gear. And you didn't have the Mark Andrews shirt, which I'm disappointed. I thought that you would have that, but I'm not disappointed in your team. How are you feeling so far? I've asked this question from A, B to C. What would you rate it?
I think I'm doing pretty well. I mean, and based on the responses we're getting on social media, a number of people out there feel that I'm crushing it, so that makes me feel good, right?
Yeah.
Confirmation. I don't necessarily like the 7 spot, but it just seems like there are some really solid players that are falling to me. Like, for me to get Gus Edwards, again, he's going to be the lead back. I just think that there's players that are falling to me at 7 that that are going to perform for me.
And I know your first pick, Anita, was Garrett Wilson. And what's great about that is I had talked about on the show not too long ago, just that I love his over for receiving yards. And I know you're high on the Jets, high on Aaron Rodgers and whatnot. So I'm sure you got at least one pick. Give us one pick for the people for the Jets.
I'm sorry. I was hearing a producer in my ear. You're talking about Garrett Wilson?
Yes.
Yes, thrilled about the Garrett Wilson pick for sure. The chemistry that you're seeing from Aaron Rodgers and him, albeit sometimes bickering, but for a good cause. And that's because I think both guys want to crush it this season. So I feel good about that pick as well.
Yeah, so you had 2 tight ends over there, TJ and Mark Andrews. How good do you feel about TJ being able to maybe even take that spot? Because he shows a lot of value as well.
Yeah, listen, I think that there's a lot of value in TJ Hawkinson. You know, obviously he's not going to be able to start for quite a few weeks. So I feel like getting him, I think I drafted him at like 13 or 14, something like that. I could put him on my IR, wait for him to get healthy, and hands down, I think has the potential of being a top 5 tight end this season in fantasy.
Yeah, chess, not checkers, because he could still be a great trade candidate. So thank you, Anita, for joining us, and love the shirts. Send us some. Erin, listen, I know you want some shirts.
And also I know she didn't really hear the question on the Jets, but she's very high on the Jets in terms of them winning a lot of things from a betting perspective.
So with Aaron
Not to
Rodgers,
speak on her behalf, but you could also go back and watch.
So what's the betting market saying about the Jets and like their potential this year?
I mean, the potential, obviously the ceiling's high, but the same thing happened last year. And then, of course, Aaron Rodgers got injured week 1. So I don't think it's going to be worse than what we saw last year. It's just a matter of Aaron Rodgers being able to stay healthy. But the Jets, yes, that offensive line's great. Defensive line's great. From a betting perspective, people think they're going to be good.
Yeah, a lot of excited Jets fans. I have close friends who are huge Jets fans. They have been struggling for quite some time now. So maybe this is the year.
You feel bad for these teams. You're like, yeah, like it's Daniel Dopp was saying. Now everybody is interested in the Lions, you know?
Yeah.
Tides finally turned.
Now everyone's interested in the Lions, the Jets. Who knows what's going to happen with the Tides as they continue to turn. This is the final round as we approach. We're going to send it back to the squad as the Fantasy Draft Marathon continues.
Back here as we continue along with over 1.52 million teams drafted. That includes our 10 during this SportsCenter special fantasy mock draft presented by our friends over at ESPN Bet. And we are back now with the moment that everybody has been waiting for. Mike Clay, Professor Clay, has 3 winners and 1 loser based off of the last 11 plus rounds of picks.
Yeah, they won't let me grade everyone because there were too many complaints, mostly from Stephania. So, yeah, we cut it down a little bit. So let's count them down. We'll start with 3.
Number 3.
Liz Loza.
All right, Liz. Okay,
Easily could have been number 1. This is a great squad. Just value after value after value. Tyreek in the first, of course. That was the easy one. But after that, Isaiah Pacheco, I'm a big fan of him. Neighbors like him. We talked about him during the show. But then you get Josh Allen. He was, QB3 off the board. Yeah, right. James Conner, value pick. I think he was 5th in rushing last year like that. DJ Moore, and it just goes on from there. Here you go. Javonte Williams, value pick. Kittle, value. Yep. Kirk, value. Just one after the other. You got some upside with Xavier Worthy. Just one after the next, outstanding.
Your thoughts, Mike? I think Mike said just enough. I will take all those flowers. Thank you.
I like it.
Bronze goes to Liz Loza, which means next up we have team number 2, Mike.
Okay.
Did you grade your own team?
Wow. No, I did not grade my own team for the record, but I'm going with Field Yates. And this was hard because we go at each other about as often as Tyler and I do on the podcast, but I like it a lot. A ton of talent right off the top with Bijan Robinson and Marvin Harrison. James Cook, borderline, but it's fine. Obviously, a lot of upside there. Was 4th in yards at running back last season. Not my favorite pick, but you did come back with Brian Robinson later, which helps add some running back depth. Ayuk, Kelsey, Zay Flowers. Flowers, one of my favorite topics in drafts. It seems like I'm kind of like rubbing off on you and on the podcast.
Ridley and Prescott, Robinson.
Prescott, getting a little too old at the end there, but otherwise.
The 9th, 10th, and 11th round.
A good draft. So, what do you think?
I'll take it.
Good grade. You take second?
Yeah.
You okay with that?
I'll be okay with that one. I can't wait to see who wins.
Yeah.
Okay.
Could it be?
I think I know.
My friend Daniel Dopp.
What?
Whoa! Thank you, Mike Clay.
Really?
All right, let's see it up on the big screen.
Squad here.
I got the first pick.
He got the layup with CMC, but then comes back with ETN, Drake London, and DK Metcalf. A really good 1-2 punch at the wide receiver position. Really showing here that you can win with running back out of the gate and end up with a lot of talent. You have 2 of the best top 5 options at quarterback and tight end here with Lamar Jackson and Trey McBride at the tight end spot. And then what else we got? Tank Dell, good flyer there. I kind of, I think we could have stopped at 6, actually.
That overtakes my team.
I'm not as high on Jaden Reed as you are, but Tank Dell upside. Deontay Johnson's one of my favorites. Love the Keon Coleman flyer, and my old friend Zach Moss, of course. So I like this squad.
Okay.
Thanks, man.
Mike, I've noticed a theme here. A lot of podcasters that
join us on the show.
What is going on here?
Here's why, Stephania, here's why you're not in the top 3. You didn't draft a single player with the initials PT.
Wow.
Who is PT? Not one PT.
Wow.
No, but
is there a player
all of my
with
players
PT
have
this year?
Pierre
benefited
Thomas?
from PT. There we go.
Oh, I get it.
Here is Stephania's roster, by the way. Absent any PTs.
Almost PN. No, almost.
You don't like this roster? You do?
No, I do. I like Barkley. I like Nakua. This was it was a good start. Nico Collins, Laporta, Stroud. Yeah, you lost me at Aaron Jones.
I know you had.
Rice, nice pick there.
I'll give you 4th place. We'll just call the podcast people 1 through 4.
All right, so of course those are the best 4 teams, and somebody had to finish dead last out of 10. I wonder who it could be, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a tough one, actually. I don't know. I told you before the draft. Do not draft anyone Tyler likes. That's just the strategy.
I believe you did in the 3rd or 4th round.
That was until later. The bridge was burned by then. Breece Hall's a layup. Cooper Kupp way too early for Puka Nakua's backup. Devon Achane, Raheem Mostert's backup. Too far down. Debo, I don't even know.
Jalen Warren, Najee Harris's backup. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase's backup.
It's a good try. Kyle Pitts, I guess he has upside. I don't know. I'm trying here. I'm digging deep for you, man. We're trying.
There was a couple
maybe next year. You tried.
It was a couple years ago that Mike famously graded my 1st round selection of Travis Kelce as an F-.
Yeah.
So
didn't you take Allen Robinson the next?
That's neither here nor there. First round. That's besides the point. I just want to say I'm actually glad I got the worst grade because that probably portends to my best team that I'm picking with this guy as the professor.
We'll see about that. Grades are the grades. We'll see.
All right, let's take a look at one more roster here.
Okay.
Steve Woody's. It incurred a lot of size from himself.
A lot of size.
I have to side between each player that we talk about.
No.
No, this is I like a lot of value here as well. Jamar Chase in the 1st round. One of the better probably the steal of the 1st round. The Chase follows all the way to 9th if he's out there on the field. JT coming around in round 2. Again, you talked about it, Woody, with Anthony Richardson there. The efficiency for him should be fantastic. You got 2 Colts, though, so you need Anthony Richardson to work because you're relying on 2 guys from that offense. Jacobs, Devontae Smith, Kyler Murray, good value at quarterback. I like him a lot. Brian Thomas, that was one of probably the deeper reaches of the draft, but it may work out very well for you. He's been one of my favorite late-round flyers. Raheem Mostert, David Njoku, outstanding value at tight end. Cortland Sutton, one of my favorite targets. He might be one of my most drafted players in our mock draft project. So, solid squad. You, Woody?
I feel good. With all the sighing that I was doing, being stressed out, I feel like I'm positioned well.
Yeah, when you're on the clock and distressed.
I graded you I think I gave you like a C a couple of years ago, and you threatened me, so I'm not going to say anything bad. I learned my lesson there.
Threats can prove effective, especially when they come from Damien and Woody. All right, that was a ton of fun. Great stuff right there with all of the grades. Congratulations to Daniel Dopp for having the best team as per Mike Clay.
I didn't even get any Detroit Lions on my team, and I still won the best team. I appreciate that.
And you didn't stand on a table.
That's right. And I kept my shirt on the whole time. You're proud of me.
That might be a loss for America, but a win for
right.
you. We are not done here on the Fantasy Football Marathon. More to come. Please join in on the 1.53 million teams worth of fun. Do your part. Head on over and draft a team right now. We'll see you in just a few with closing thoughts.
Well, now you're with us. Skubie, Mageza, Erin, Dolan. Incredible. 1.53 million people getting ready to draft to play fantasy football this year.
They're excited, and they should be.
Yeah, football
That's a
season.
lot of people filling out a roster. That's insane.
I mean, football season is the season. It gets
It is
really
the
excited.
season.
You can almost feel it in the air, and everybody seems to have agreed as well that Dopp has the best team. I know you had other thoughts on who the best team was.
I liked Liz's roster. I also liked Anita's. It seems like I'm just picking out the females here, and I'm not. I'm telling you. But with Dopp, I mean, he had the #1 pick, so it makes sense. But also, I don't know, might come back to bite him.
All right, we're gonna
on
bring
paper.
Mike in.
Everything's on paper.
Mike, you were able to grade some of these teams, and you had your top 3. Our YouTube chat agreed that Dopp had the best team.
Oh, nice.
But we want to ask you about where you think your team should have ranked in your own personal, humble opinion.
Look, I was only ranking 9 teams because I'm #1 and everybody else is down a few tiers. So that's just the rules. It's part of the game. I have to be objective, but of course I'm #1.
Yeah, so right now, with the way that it is set up with Daniel Dopp's team, I mean, I saw that he was able to get Jake Bates and everything. Are there any things that you might have left on the board, or moves or plays that were made that kind of surprised you?
I mean, basically everything Tyler did, I would say, surprised me. I mean, I shouldn't say surprised me, but not the best moves, certainly ones I would have made. So we'll see how that turns out. But no, I think that something I did that is kind of unique, especially in kind of modern fantasy football the past few years, is go aggressive at the running back position. Started with CeeDee Lamb, and then I think 4 of my next 6 were running backs, which is fine. I'm just going to have those slots filled out. Could I have taken a high-end receiver in one of them spots? Sure, but I'm happy with it. I'm going to have the 2 running back slots and the flex filled out every single week, and I think that's going to work out.
So Team Clay was allegedly #1, obviously, and then you gave it to Daniel Dopp. Was anybody else at least in contention with Daniel Dopp?
Yeah, you know what? I had a hard time actually ranking. I cut it down to 3, and then Liz, Daniel, and Field, I think, had excellent teams. Maybe that's because we do the pod and shows together so often that we have so many similar players that we like, but they did a great job.
All right, Clay, really appreciate you. Great show that you guys put on. And Erin, it's been a lot of fun. 3 hours we've been hanging out, and we got to see this number just shoot up. But really appreciate everybody in the YouTube chat for your interaction and really just getting the hype up about the fantasy football season coming up. And then the football season just all together in general.
I'm hyped up. It is the season, like you said. It's really the season.
Yeah, you need some rest because she's not feeling good. But
No, I'm
thank
good.
you for watching. Have a good rest of the night. Back to Fields.
Sports Center Special Fantasy Football Draft is presented by ESPN Bet, the official sportsbook of ESPN, and in part by DiGiorno. It's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
Back here on the Fantasy Football Marathon, and Anita Marks kept saying, I don't love picking from the 7th slot, and yet you didn't finish with the worst team, according to Mike Clay. Your thoughts on your squad?
That's a backhanded compliment.
I mean, can I see it? I don't even know. I don't remember who I drafted. I mean, I feel good about my team. Here's the thing. I was surprised that there were as many good players still available. Yeah. Later on, okay. I was really surprised that the amount of talent that was still available in rounds 12 and 13. I mean, listen, we didn't see it. Like, I got T.J. Hawkinson as my second tight. I think that's a steal at like 13 or 14. You know, put him on IR. I think he has the potential of being a top 5 tight end at the end of the year. And
Garrett Wilson, of course, your first pick in the first round. One of the surprises.
Yeah, because
you knew the room.
Took Amon-Ra St. Brown from me. So yeah, but I'm excited about Garrett Wilson. Again, I think the chemistry, you could see it. It's infectious between him and Aaron Rodgers. We know how good Aaron Rodgers was at least 2 years ago. We're hoping that he'll pick up where he left off. But yes, I do like Garrett Wilson. I think listen, I'm in New York. I host Sports Talk Radio in New York, expecting big things from him this year.
Okay, there you have it. We have had a blast over the past nearly 27 hours to take a look at some of the very best moments from the 2024 marathon.
I recommend this for all of you in your drafts.
The champ is actually here.
We turn to Adam Schefter. Can you confirm that Mike Clay hates puppies?
Sources say that is accurate.
Oh, wow! On the clock, you have 1 minute to make your pick. You can use as much of that minute as you would like.
Sure. Christian McCaffrey.
Not a fancy draft until Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson just got picked over Josh Allen.
You shouldn't be this stressed out.
So I was sniping Damien, but then Anita sniped me.
I think I gotta go with the cheetah because cougars and cheetahs.
The way that I have approached this draft, very demure, right? Very mindful.
I was really trying to get that good grade out of my Clay at the end.
It's working.
That's all about to go out the window.
Ooh, 40, this one's for you, Nana. Devon A-Chan.
I'm just going to tell you, Nana was blowing me up.
That's disgusting, Mike.
That's supposed to be an insult.
With him as my QB1. Noah Moody, this one's for you, buddy.
I might have to call myself Adam Schefter's stepson.
I just told Kevin Pulsifer I was going to take him.
Calm down, you're 10 picks away.
Thanks to my mom for sending that. Adam doesn't have her number, by the way.
1.5 million plus teams drafted here during the ESPN Fantasy Football Marathon, and somebody had to finish dead last out of 10.
Not draft anyone Tyler likes.
What a ride it has been. We're down to the final minute of this Fantasy Football Marathon. Congratulations to Schefty on the adoption of
My wife is going to be very pleased to hear that.
What do you have planned for Tyler's first big birthday bash?
We've got 5 dogs and a new stepson.
Congratulations to the entire team, and Noah Moody is going to be the happiest kid upon Dad's arrival home.
Absolutely. He's got 2 great shirts. Thanks again, Anita. He's going to be excited. He'll probably wear them each and every week from here on.
We keep track of that. Who got the most shirts? That should be that winner.
It had to be Moody.
Most shirts tonight?
Yeah,
was it Moody?
Should be an award for that.
Yeah, I'd say, I think you got the most.
It's high praise.
All right, well, I am seeing out of the corner of my eye 1.538 million drafted teams. Thank you to everybody for being a huge part of the past 27 hours here. And the good news is the fantasy football season is entirely ahead of us. We'll see you week 1 Sunday morning on Fantasy Football Now. Until then, thank you, everybody!